5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, the ATYL Media fam, Slide Job Sal crew. It is another beautiful Tuesday morning. We are coming off the back of another great race weekend. Collectively, I think this one was one of the better overall race weekends we've had. So exciting things to catch up on, exciting things to talk about. We've got a great conversation with the Motorsports Enthusiast, A1 Mr. John DeRugis, later in the program here. So it'll be exciting if you're into this kind of stuff to strap in for a while. We have some pretty in-depth things we're going to talk about, and we're gonna get that conversation between me and John cooking early because it's a long one. Probably going to turn them into podcasts because it's getting to a point where they're getting really, really long. So no, but all exciting stuff, and yeah, we'll kick it off. We were at Nashville this week. I got to get all my thoughts collected in my head. I've been buzzing around this morning, getting my coffee made. So Nashville this week, it was a big deal. Amazon Prime coverage week number 2. What did we think? I mean, I was thoroughly impressed yet again for a race that could have had more action on track in terms of where the Cup Series travels to all year long. The Prime team did a really great job of keeping things fun and light and interactive as the evening went along, and it wasn't just a fight for who's in first. It was very much so a more complete view of the race overall. So I was really impressed with that, and I'm excited to see them continue on this Prime pathway through the summer series. See, that's you see the short form, and boom, live video pops right in. That means we were destined to be together 100%. Oh, yeah. That's what it means. What's going on? Good morning. Okay. Glad to see everybody's coming in, cooking up in the morning this morning. We're excited everybody's here. It is early. I know there's some other programs that happen earlier in the week, but we're here now, Tuesday. This is it. Giving you your daily dose, kids. Follow along every Tuesday here on TikTok and on the ATYL channel. So I really want to talk about the truck race this weekend. Let's see. I'm gathering some information. Here we go. Okay. So the Prime stuff has been really good, and I've been really excited about it. And the truck racing, I'm bouncing all over. Sorry. The Prime broadcasts have been really good, and I'm really excited for them to continue. I talk a little bit with John about that, and I'll talk a little bit about it before we get into that interview later on. This is my second season following NASCAR as a rookie, and I love the Prime version. It's very reminiscent to me of, if you're new, you won't know, but it reminds me of the old days when they used to do like race day in the mornings on, if you go back and watch old broadcasts. Reminds me of those days where there's a little bit more focus from the broadcast companies where you could really stretch your legs in terms of okay, we want to do this much post race or this much pre race, and it all looks good. So that's what this kind of is reminiscent of. I love that they bring these drivers up onto the stage. The personalities, again, we talked about it last week a little bit, but the personalities they brought in, I think, really cater to that environment. Right, hot, fresh, out of the car, frustration, emotion, the whole thing is right there and happening. Um, so it's interesting that like Carl Edwards, Corey LaJoy, and Danielle Trotta, they have such an ability to be able to craft a conversation with these guys as they're getting out of this highly intense competition. Um, they do a fantastic job doing it. Carl Edwards, I got to tell you, it's just like he never left. It's been great. Concrete Carl this week at Nashville. It was funny to see them kind of clown on him a little bit. But yeah, Nashville's one of these tracks too. I like the concrete. I'd like to see them run more in the sunlight, see if the track temperature would affect the racing a little bit differently, because we saw some strategy opportunities that were called upon by the 12 team that ended up working out. And it was because the tire didn't wear as good. So I'm curious to understand like what different, how could this race was good. The facility looks good. I've never been to Nashville. We'll talk with John a little bit about that. He was at Nashville and Indy this weekend. Or I'm sorry, Indy last weekend, Nashville this weekend. So he's been busy, but he's had a good perspective in terms of what he's seeing at the track. Morning, United Hot Rods. How we doing? Apparently, like it's people were surprised that it was really had a big uptick, and the facilities were really nice. And I don't know, I've never been, but I'd like to go. It looked like they were having fun on Broadway. The Monster Energy Beast folks were out there doing some motorcycle activations where they were doing donuts in the street, and I saw country music stars show up and taking pictures with Richard Petty. And the environment around the track really seemed very experiential, which is what any good event team looks for, is how can I make this an experience for people. um so yeah, that's what I'm interested in, is the tire fall off. I think it would be interesting, like a Dover, where they race Dover in the beating hot sun most years, and the tire, you can watch the tire shave off like a cheese grater. Imagine that at a big track like this. I get a little bit curious about what that might look like. I mean, if you're really curious about what it might look like for you to be in some new NASCAR apparel, you can check out Happy Hour Racing. Happy Hour Racing, the QR code is at the top of the screen on the ATYL platforms. Make sure you check them out. They support ATYL Media, and we love to see them supported. They provide all kinds of different, you can buy anything there: hats, shirts, socks, keychains. Your favorite driver, they live on happyhourracing.com. Just a small business, people supporting small businesses. No big warehouses. He ships them out of his living room, out of his front door. So always love to be able to support people who are supporting the industry and supporting us. So there's my shameless plug I snuck in there. What will it take for the 9 team to get some fresh personnel next season? They're still doing well. Top 3 in points, scored the last 5 races, just doesn't feel like it. Highlights how important a win is in the modern era. I don't think there's much they can do in terms of improvement. It's hard to say who could they bring in to make them better. They have one of the best drivers. They have some of the best personnel racing for the best team. I don't know. It's difficult. They've been in really difficult situations. Maybe there's some decision making and some strategy they could change to keep themselves out of those really difficult situations that they found themselves, mired in. But they have had really consistent finishes this year. All the Hendrick cars have, um, you know, aside from any kind of major detriment where they're DNFing. They've all finished in really great order this year. You'd think. Now, me and John talked about this too in our conversation, so stay tuned. But I have my criticisms of the 9 team. I think that there's more pressure to perform in that car. And the 48, I think there's a lot of pressure to perform in that car at Hendrick right now, to make things happen. So we'll see what they decide to do. There are some free agents, so to speak, out there in the world that are, you know, on the team side, not so saying so much on the driver's side, but on the team side, that maybe they could have come in and help put the car together, or um, help build some strategy around Chase and whatever else. I haven't. The thing I think people are searching for, and what you're talking about, is they haven't come out with a car that just can give an ass whooping, that just is fast at the front, on the pole, is fast on the track, anywhere, is just fast, fast, fast the whole way through. So I think that's why it seems like it's really quiet, because they're just ticking the races away, one after another, waiting for that opportunity to get back to the front, um, toward the front. All those top 5 finishes feel good, I'm sure, but it's like you wanna break that ice. Well, that's a lot of it. Is the cars are very similar, which makes it more difficult. Hendrick, we know, they love to push the boundaries on what those limitations are, and that's what makes them so innovative and makes them fast. But, there's certainly ways that they're setting the cars up that's different than the rest of the sport, where they're having consistent speed. I mean, we saw William Byron this weekend, diving into the Cup Series stuff a little bit, ripping that top lane where a lot of other drivers couldn't make any speed up there. Um, just couldn't do it. And it's like, okay, well, they figured something out that the rest nobody else really had. Yeah, and when you see the 9 parachute back, these are just things. One missed adjustment on pit road turns into a night of despair, because once you make that adjustment and it's sending you backwards, um, you know, now you're in trouble because you have to make up all that ground, and it can happen, but the adjustments have to be right. Like you said too, there were some restarts that probably left a little bit to be desired by the 9, but where did he finish? Let's see. Chase Elliott ultimately finishes top 15 with a 15th place finish. Um, let's see. Stage 1, where was he? Stage 1, he finishes 6th. Where was he in stage 2? Stage 2, he finishes 20th. So something in that second stage. Um, you know, Yeah, you lose 4 spots on a race start, 80 laps to gain it back. Yeah, especially at a place like Nashville. It's not easy to just go up there and put your foot down and go get 8 spots back or whatever. That's why they were making such a big deal about what was going on pit road. And maybe that's where the difference is happening for the 9 team as well. Um, I was really impressed with what I saw out of the Penske cars. Obviously, Blaney winning this race, but just all night long, the 12, the 2, and the 22. After last week, where it just looked like they fell off a cliff, the Penske cars really showed up in a big way, which I expected them to. But they're always competitive. Now, I love giving a little outside perspective. I'm not like I try not to be I try not to be too biased. I don't. I like the 9. I like Hendrick. They're good. They're good group. They're fun to watch. They make the sport entertaining. But when you get stuck in that the cone of Chase, the Chase cone, there's a lot of like I will ride or die for Chase Elliott fans out there, and they lose sometimes a little bit of perspective on reality. But I promise it'll be okay. It's just Chase Elliott driving a car. I promise it'll be all right. I see them on Instagram a lot. That's where I see a lot of Chase, like very, very dedicated Chase fans who do some crazy things. But yeah, I hope he gets a rebound kind of in a Wow, Lex knows exactly who we're talking about. There's some creative creators out there. Chase is still 5th in points, you know. Byron is 1st, Larson is 2nd, Chase is 5th, and Bowman is 12th. So you have all the Hendrick drivers kind of circulating in the top kind of half of the points, you know. And 3 out of the 4 are top 5. So it's interesting. You know, you're not if you're a big Chase fan, you're not going to like what I have to say in my conversation with John, because I think there's opportunities for that 9 team that other drivers are going to try to shoehorn their way in because they're looking a lot more competitive, or at least a lot more marketable. And I think that's something people have to remember too, is there's a marketability to this sport. I saw someone in here who said they became a fan from NASCAR Full Speed. And there's one notable character in NASCAR Full Speed that is omitted every season. He also happens to win the most popular driver award. So, how do you feel about Denny wanting to compare Carson to Dale and that he can't race like that? Well, I don't think it's wrong for Denny to do it. I think Dale Jr. did it. There's a clip from the Earnhardt documentary, like promo on Prime, that, you know, somebody asks Dale Jr. this question, and his answer was Ross Chastain and Carson Hocevar are the 2 that remind them most. But because of that intimidator mentality, where it's, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to ruffle your feathers, I'm going to rough you up, and I'm going to win the race. So you know, I don't know it to be, you know, it's as accurate as the person saying it wants it to be, and it's as accurate as the person hearing it wants it to be, because it's such a difficult comparison to make. It's so many factors that go into it. You know, driving style is one thing, but the way the cars drive now are so different. So it's you know, people have to do things for different reasons because the car forces them to. But I don't think it's wrong. I think there are some parallels. I wouldn't say they're exactly alike, but definitely some parallels between that style, that aggressive style of driving. Who gets the next win for Trackhouse? I mean, Ross, for sure. I don't know. I think a lot of people are making an assumption that, not making an assumption, but a lot of people have a feeling that the 99 will go down to Mexico City and just absolutely put the mollywomping on them. And that car's going to run toward the front. They've had to have been setting that car up for quite a while to make sure that it's competitive in that event in particular. So I think Daniel Suarez is a great driver. I just don't know what's going on over there. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, where it's like, oh, is Trackhouse cooked? And then Ross comes out in the 600 and wins the way he does, puts it up on the dash. I mean, they obviously have the ability to make things happen over there. It's just, you know, just making it happen. I think if they get horsepower back in the tire management pack, Chase will rise again. There is conversation happening right now about horsepower increases at the cup level, but apparently, you know, in the garage, there's not enough excitement around it to make me excited about it. Where, okay, you know, we'll give them more power, but is it going to really make a difference at short tracks? Is it really going to be able to be enough to overcome the dirty air that they're experiencing, you know, when they're riding in line like that? So I'm all for it. You know, give them more. Give them more. Let's get that trend moving in the right direction. If you give them extra horsepower now, regardless of how much, and it puts on even a little bit better of a product, that's a stepping stone to get to the next level. Okay, you gave us 100, now give us 150. All right, now give us 200. All right, now give it like just little tiny baby steps to get where we want to go. So I think that's a big thing. Not going to show immediate results though. So I think that's important for the keyboard folks on Twitter to pay attention to. You're not going to, oh, they added horsepower, the race is still garbage, I hate this car. Like the Facebook, the dads in the Facebook groups with the New Balances, dial it back a click. You know, you got to calm down. Does Gibbs get his first win with Tyler Allen as his crew chief? I don't know when Ty Gibbs gets his first win. Last year, if you listened to anything that I did on TikTok or I did a podcast last year, you can go back and listen to on Spotify. I was super, super high on Ty Gibbs, high enough to buy a hat, apparently. I was really high on his performance and what they were doing with that program. And this year has kind of been a step back. Every week we talked about Ty Gibbs could win this week. Ty Gibbs could win. He was running really well in the beginning, portions of the races, not always able to, from a strategy perspective, finish things off, but was really, really competitive. This season, we've seen kind of a backslide from him. Where is he in the points? Not good when it takes me this long to look for the number on the screen. He's 27th in points this year. He's 27th in points. And maybe it's just a deal where the new team has to gel better. Or maybe it's time to make some changes. I mean, the 12 team made some changes on pit road, and look how that worked out for them this weekend. It's killer. 5 DNFs, they make changes, things fall the right way, and they're going to the playoffs. Like, that's huge for Blaney. Blaney's also the best driver, best looking too. Listen, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to argue at that point. As I've said on the live stream, you'll never make a NASCAR fan happy. No, never. Almost never. Someone is always going to have something to complain about. I'm pretty sure that's Dom in the chat. Dom's talking about the horsepower changes. The NASCAR fans never being happy is what keeps yappy people like me in business. Always talking about what's making them happy and unhappy. But I think there's an educational bit that we can help provide to people so they don't get as frustrated over it. I notice a lot of rage bait on Twitter lately. A lot of people just post things for the sake of riling people up. Folks got to be able to identify that. If it seems too outlandish to be spoken by someone of sound mind, it might be rage bait. It might be. What's the bigger surprise in the points, the 54 in 27th or the 6 in 32nd? Man, that BK machine, that 6 car has had a hard time. I have them picked this weekend at Michigan coming up to bounce back. Him and the RFK program in general. I have them on my slate of drivers to kind of run well at that track. I'll never argue with a man wearing a Ty Gibbs hat. That's how you know, like, ladies, loyalty. If your man's is wearing a Ty Gibbs hat, that's how you know. Or a Brad Keselowski hat. Yeah, but I think the RFK guys, especially Brad, they've shown speed. He showed a lot of good speed at North Wilkesboro, and I think they have the chance to set things up right. We've seen that car win and be fast, and we know Brad can get the job done. He's the man. So, Ford, this is a big place for Ford, Michigan. So we'll see if they can. Imagine explaining that a hybrid engine will give you the horsepower number you want. People's heads would explode, Dom. I don't, and I'm not, it would be a great, if I knew more about it, like from the science perspective, like, oh, here's what a hybrid motor could do. You look at IndyCar, it does it. Look how fast Indy cars are. It's crazy to me. People's heads would explode. The Facebook groups would be losing their minds. Priest has shown so much. Yeah, that 60 car. I mean, we saw Priest. Priest is somebody that is I talk about a little bit with John. Priest is somebody who you really see the talent. He's not just a Northeast modifieds guy. The equipment he was in the past couple of years, maybe that was just the preamble he needed to be prepared for this opportunity in the 60 car at RFK, because he's performed really, really well. Let's see, where they're sitting in 16th in points. I think that's a real jump for him in comparison to what he was doing. He was a habitual kind of back of the pack guy, and now he's kind of found his way. He's had some tough goes this season though, where he's gotten banged around, and he was in the wall at Nashville too, getting kind of jumped on through that second stage there with the cautions. But if Heim is in that 54 car, he has 5 wins already. I think you need to tailor your expectations about Corey Heim. I think he is the real deal, but I think people need to realize that the car has a lot to do with it too, and the team has a lot to do with it. I mean, if you put Jimmy Johnson in that 5 car, in that 45 car, if it's a 54 car, oh my God, 5, 4, 4, 5, 4, 8. Numbers are really hard, guys. Am I dyslexic? You see, you don't need a doctor. Just get on the internet for an hour and talk, and you'll figure out if you're dyslexic. How do we feel about Heim? How much longer does Toyota keep him? Okay. We'll talk. This is a good opportunity, right? Because we've been chatting about the Cup Series. I want to talk a little bit about the Truck Series, because I thought the Truck Series race at Nashville was the race of the weekend for me. So the NASCAR Crescent Truck Series kicked off the weekend on Friday night with the Rackley Roofing 200. Rajah Caruth staves off Corey Heim and Lane Riggs, claims his first win of the 2025 season, second of his career, in the 71 Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports. Caruth took the lead during a pit stop at the end of stage 2 and held off challenges from Heim and Riggs in the closing laps. He led 61 of the 150, including the final 51, to secure his second career win at Nashville. Heim, who started from the pole after qualifying, was canceled due to rain, finished second and won stage 2. Riggs, who won stage 1, came home third. The top 5 were rounded out by Hemrick, Day earning his first top 5 finish in just his 10th Truck Series start. So that's a little synopsis of the truck race. What do I think about Heim? I think Heim is the real deal. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's not a hot take. That's what everyone is saying. It's what he's showing us. What I will tell you though is just to tailor your expectations about it, because any driver, it's an adjustment to move from one series to another, one car to another, and the competition around them also changes as they make that progression up to the Cup Series or to whatever racing discipline they want to be in. I don't know what they do to the cars at Tricon. I don't know what they do to that 11 car, or that 11 truck. I'm sorry, the truck. But, they have something special there. Lane Riggs is a great driver too. He's making it super, super competitive out there at FRM. But I'm so excited that Rajah won this race. This is a guy who works his butt off and takes a lot of unnecessary criticism for a lot of unnecessary reasons, and still gets out there and just lays it down. So I remember when he won at Vegas, I was watching that race, and I'm happy to see him win his second race. We've even got his little car is back here on my wall. Let's see. Can you see it? It's back here somewhere. That's his truck win from Vegas, the little guy. So, it's cool to see them. It's cool to see him get a win and actually challenge this, because it was kind of becoming a 2-horse show, right? In terms of who's at the front, who's the rivalry, what's happening with that. It was becoming the Heim show and the Lane Riggs show a little bit. I was really impressed with what I saw from Caden Honeycutt in the trucks this weekend as well. He ran up toward the front a lot of the race. I'm just going to pull up the final results from the final results from that race, so I don't get it all wrong. So Rajah, Heim, Riggs, Hemrick, Day, Honeycutt 6th. Chandler Smith, Ty Majeski, Bailey Curry, Grant Enfinger wrap out the top 10. I was very impressed. So if you had to guess, what would they move when would the move to the 750 horsepower happen? It's a good question. I don't know the answer. I would imagine it would take some time. I don't think it's an off-season thing. I think they could turn the power up on them anytime they want. They just have to let the teams know that it's allowed, and they'll be able to do it. So it's just a matter of the sanctioning body saying, "Yep, you're good. Go ahead," and they just make those adjustments. I don't think they're. I would assume the next short track. Don't think they make any adjustments, any changes before the playoffs. You never know. I mean, I don't think it's going to make a difference on the short tracks anyway. So, but no, this truck series stuff has been fantastic this year. So we're excited about that. Eric Jones looked like the chosen one when he was climbing up the ranks. It doesn't always guarantee a Hall of Fame career. I think Eric Jones is still a chosen one. I think Eric Jones is a wheelman. It's but you have a great point, Dom. It doesn't mean just because you look like this phenom as you're coming up through the ranks, um, doesn't mean you're gonna go and okay, we'll put him in the 54 car and he'll win 5 races. I just, you have to the situations that these drivers and these teams are put in affects a lot of the on-track product as well in terms of success. So, Eric Jones, I mean, for the love of God, he won races at Joe Gibbs, and then Joe Gibbs showed him the door. I mean, in my humble opinion, I think they should have gave him a longer runway to prove he could be a very productive driver at that JGR camp. Now, there might have been things that were happening behind the scenes that didn't gel well on the team side or whatever, but that's, but he won in the 20, you see, he's won in the 43. Um, and what he, not to get too far off because we're going to move on to the Xfinity stuff next, but like Eric Jones showed us at Nashville that he's got it. If you can give him something underneath of him, he's got the ability to do it. But it's just like you said, Dom. A lot of these guys look like the second coming when they're coming up, and then they get this very hard reality check when the competition around them changes and they're in these new scenarios. So, Xfinity Series, Tennessee Lottery 250, a pretty dominant win by Justin Allgaier. He led 101 of 188 to secure his third Xfinity Series win of the season. Driving Junior Motorsports, Allgaier swept both stages of the race. Connor Zilic finished second, and Sam Mayer of Haas Factory Team completed the podium. So that race, unfortunately, was not as spicy as you may have wanted it to be. There was some drama between one of the Sieg boys and Parker Kligerman, or not Parker Kligerman, Parker Retzloff. I'm sorry. Just kind of chopping it up, going back and forth. They got into a little bit of a wreck there, but there wasn't anything that there was a caution early that took out some competitors in the Xfinity race too. I only caught highlights from the Xfinity. I was supposed to be working on Saturday. Sal has a new job on Saturdays. If you're interested, if you're in the Northeast, in the New Jersey area, New Jersey Shore area, you come out on Saturday nights at Wall Stadium Speedway. That's where you can find me instead of me watching the Xfinity races. So forgive me if I seem a little less than prepared to recap these. Does Hocevar get a win this season? I think he does. I think he could have won last week if the motor doesn't blow, and I think he could have won this week if maybe they got beat by the best team. Yeah, I mean, him finishing second at Nashville, I heard his interview where he's like, growing up, I didn't want to be the guy who celebrated second. This is something to sell. I hope he celebrates on his own. You don't have to show it on TV, but I hope he goes home and he really, gets with his team and the people in his life, and they really look at this, especially that they're going to go to Michigan. That's his home track next week, at least on the Cup schedule. It's his home track. And they really celebrate this accomplishment because it is really, really something to see that car, that team, that driver, that same guy we saw racing in the trucks where everybody went, oh, I don't know, be as competitive as he is. And not just be competitive because of the way they're building the car, but the decisions he makes, yeah, they're high risk, but they're high reward too. And I support the Carson Hocevar, style of racing. I think within reason, it makes a lot of sense to have to take chances. And for a young 22 years old, he's a young guy. He's going to take those shots. He's going to learn. But I do think he ends up with a win. And we talk about Carson Hocevar in our conversation, me and John. Could he be a future champion someday? Guys who take risks become champions. But I think it's going to be, for him, It's going to be about how much trouble he gets himself in the garage, in terms of making some questionable decisions, things like we saw with Ricky Stenhouse. But I have opinions there too. But let's real quick run down the Xfinity points standings before we get into that. Justin Allgaier still at the tippity top of the Xfinity points standings. Austin Hill, Sam Mayer in the top 3. Jesse Love and Connor Zilich wrap out the top 5 in points standings again. Sheldon Creed, 6th. Quapple, 7th. Brandon Jones is in 8th. Jeb Burton is in 9th. Brian Sieg is in 10th. So there is your top 10 points for the Xfinity series. Some notables, though, kind of hanging in the wing here. Daniel Dye, our friend of the stream. We haven't seen Daniel in a long time, though. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't like us anymore. Daniel Dye in 15th, though. He has been a little busy, racing the Xfinity series. Finishing 15th, has a ton of really consistent finishes this year. So I will give love. Dean Thompson and that team at SHR, at Sam Hunt Racing, they're doing all kinds of things. I know maybe the points doesn't reflect it, 26th, but they've ripped off some good results recently. That team feels like they're going through this restructuring. They're going through this new change in their program. I don't know if you've seen photos of the inside of that building or the shop and the garage, but things are turning and shifting and improving, I think, for them, and it shows on track as well. One driver I'm surprised that is not in the top 10 in points is Sammy Smith, Junior Motorsports number 8. You'd like to see the Junior Motorsports cars. I know Junior would probably want his drivers to be 1, 2, 3, 4, right up at the tippity top. But it's something that people have started to move on from Martinsville, from that incident with Sammy Smith and the field. And now I think it's just a time for that 8 team to focus and refocus and just start to worry about playoffs and points and getting themselves set up. And these are all things that they're going to do that I'm just going to talk about because I'm a big head on a screen. And I always get confused looking at the points in Xfinity because they have 77 Xfinity entries in the overall season standings and stats board. So, okay. So now that we've got the Xfinity points out of the way, the Carson host of our conversation is one that's going to be talked about ad nauseum. And I don't know what how people are gonna feel about it. But if the move with him and Stenhouse, if that's not Hocevar, if it's another driver, I think the conversation would be different if it wasn't Hocevar. And the other thing with Hocevar too is people act like he's out there just right rear hooking people. It's not like he's turning down on guys and wrecking them out of races. He's racing. They're racing incidents. Now, there are things that he could probably clean up for sure. But I don't blame him for not being the guy who's like, okay, yeah, I'm the new guy, but I'm not going to give up time. I'm not going to give up spots just because you're there. And I think that's crucial. Like, he finishes second. It's not like he gets into it with Stenhouse and then lays an egg and finishes in the back. He's still super, super competitive all day and continues to race strong. That's a big thing. And again, I think if it was another driver not named Carson Hocevar in that situation and Stenhouse goes up into the wall, maybe it's different. Maybe the conversation is different, but I guess there's a reputation around Hocevar. I get this, the truck series stuff I get, but we've moved on from that. When you move on to this, you have to put that behind you when you move up a series level. New car, new team, new series, new level of competition. And I get Ricky's upset about it because he didn't just tap him. He got almost all of his bumper. And they're, the 47's looking to get a break there to come down the track and get his position. But at the same time, too, I see the other side of it where Hocevar is going to stick his, he's going to stick his nose in there and he's going to stick to the bottom and take that spot away as quickly as he can. In a perfect world, he shows a little bit more patience and gets the spot ultimately, just not by putting the 47 in the wall. But hindsight is 2020, and I sit here and they sit in the car, and I wouldn't want to be the person that has to make that decision in a split second on the track doing 150, 180 miles an hour. So I see some comments here, though, and, momentum is everything in Cup today. Allowing Ricky that break would have cost Carson time. And I agree. I do. I mean, nothing I don't think he could have made up at that stage of the race. It was pretty early on. Ricky Stenhouse crowded him, then got shipped. That's something you could say. I don't think it's wrong. I think Stenhouse trying to make up the time that he felt he was losing. Oh, Hocevar is there. Well, I'm not going to let him by, and we get what we get. Old car, I think you can allow it and make up the pass quickly. Yeah, maybe in the older car he could have done it, but Hocevar learned from Chastain. Very unlikely anyone pays him back for anything. Well, that's the other part of this conversation too. Is Ricky and his team were pretty. I think they were outspoken about how open they were that they were going to remember this and they were going to essentially just pay him back. What happened to the NASCAR that threw penalties at people for saying that stuff in the media? Remember that a couple of years back, where anytime you mentioned retaliatory racing, there was some kind of repercussion always. And listen, let him. I think self-policing is the answer, but I think there has to be a standard set. I don't think you have your spotter out there hollering that you're going to go, you're going to go get him next week. But I'm sure that 77 team will be on high alert next week. They know this is a big race for them and for Carson. And if the 47 gets the chance, they'll be battling door to door. No doubt about it. Who are your favorite NASCAR drivers? I have a lot of favorites. I'm a big personality driver guy. If you can entertain me and make me feel good about the sport, I want to support you. I like William Byron. I like watching his maturity in the sport. I grew up a Gordon fan, so the 24 team is one that I hold near and dear to my heart. I like Joe Gibbs racing in general. I like Christopher Bell. Briscoe's grown on me this year as a 19 fan when Martin Truex drove that car. He's grown on me quite a bit. I think I have more favorites in let me see the cars I have out here. We talking about current drivers or past drivers? Because there's a list. I'm not one of these one horse ponies though. I like a lot of different drivers across teams and across manufacturers that just. I think Eric Jones is a great driver. I like watching him. I like watching John Hunter Nemechek. There's really only a handful of drivers I don't like. And you can figure out who those people are pretty easily based on the critical content I make about them. Does Ty Gibbs get a cup win this year? I don't know. Not the way things are right now. Unless there's some type of, not unless there's some type of change to that program in the near future. From a tech perspective or a personnel perspective, I don't know. They're still growing and learning. It is a new team. They kind of rearranged everybody at the end of last year. So we'll see. Daytona's coming up again, So there's always a chance. Spotter's fault. Ricky wasn't clear. Also, this kind of drama is great for the sport. Yeah, it creates storylines. And I think the way that it's happening now with Hocevar is a little bit more tame than the way it was happening with Ross Chastain a couple of years ago. So it's people remember back to that. He was getting into it with somebody weekly. So this has been a little bit more, strung out in terms of the drama that is out there. So yeah, a lot just Ty Gibbs doesn't get a cup win in his career. We talked about that early on in the season this year. Like, when was it the right time to sound the alarm bell on Ty Gibbs? And it was kind of talked about by other people with heads like me on screens. Um, and I was pretty. I mean, my opinion on it is the same: is that there is no alarm bell for Ty Gibbs because he will have that seat for as long as he wants it. Um, but I don't know how long you can go on without showing results and continue to sit there in that car. There's lots of talent coming up behind these guys. You talk about Corey Heim and his affiliation with Toyota and what will be the path forward for them. There's more drivers than seats in the Cup Series today, and there's a Xfinity class right now, a rookie Xfinity class right now that is unbelievable, unbelievably talented. And where are you going to put all these guys? Where are they going to go someday? Are they going to go up into the Cup Series, or what teams are they going to run for? What drivers are going to have to get shuffled around? You hear this conversation a lot when you hear about Heim going to 2311. What's going to happen to Riley Herbst? What's going to happen to this driver or that driver? There's gonna be changes as these drivers come up. I do think a lot of these young guys are going to sit in the Xfinity Series for a year or two. I don't think that's the truck to Cup pathway is a little less common than than it seems to be. Hocevar did it, but like, worried high hopes with his name and equipment hadn't delivered another Austin Dillon. Vibes are similar. Heim looked okay until he wrecked. I mean, but he's learning the car. That's the hardest part about giving someone the experience without that Xfinity. I think the Xfinity Series is such a developmental, period for people who are moving up to the Cup level. I think if I had a driver in a pipeline and I was getting them ready for the highest series of racing, I'd want them running the typical pipeline, but definitely Cars Tour. I'd want them running trucks, Xfinity, and then Cup. It's not like, okay, let me just pull you out of the middle of nowhere and put you in a Cup car. I think even for a handful of races, if someone really shows exemplary talent and is obviously like a phenom, yeah, great, move them up faster. But I think giving drivers the opportunity to see all the different levels of racing throughout those series I mentioned, it gives them a little bit more broadened perspective, and it helps them. That experience from those other series helps them race when they do end up in the Cup Series. Oh, yeah. Ooh. But there's a lot of good things to look forward to this season. We haven't really gotten into a lot of silly season stuff yet this year, which is kind of surprising, honestly. I I know there's some seats available. We got some extensions, right? So we know Byron will be back in the 24. We know that Kyle Busch will be back in the 8 at RCR. And Austin Dillon will be back in the 3 for another year at RCR as well. But there hasn't been a ton of like silly season news in terms of drivers moving, and I feel like this is what happens in motorsports in general. Once once contracts get signed and they're fresh and they're new. Last year felt like a silly season buffet with the lawsuit and the SHR closing, Stuart Haas closing, and all these different things that were happening last year. We got like silly season injected into our eyeballs, over the course of the year, and now it's a little calmer. This is normal, I feel like. it's normal not to have breaking news that changes organizational structure of teams every week. Should someone outside of the top 30 get locked into the playoffs after a win? Probably not. Probably not. But that's the structure of the playoffs and the world we live in. The win and you're in. I'm not sold on that. I think there should be a little bit more of a stringent requirement in terms of, okay, even if you win a race, if you're dead ass last in points. But again, if you can win a race from outside of the top 30, good for you. Then under the current format, you deserve it. So when Harrison Burton won last year in Daytona, don't hate the player, hate the game. That's the line I lived by through that time, because it's just them's is the rules, and that's how they're playing inside of that box. Thoughts on Mexico? I'm excited for that event. I think Mexico City is going to be a fun kind of new experience for new fans, new experience for me. I didn't watch them when they ran at Mexico the last time they were out there. It's a road course. They're gonna jump on that again. I've said in the past, a lot of road courses on schedule these days. I'd like to see some more. I'd like to see some different ovals. That's kind of the bread and butter of NASCAR. But I understand that going down there is going to be a big deal for the series and for attracting a new market of fans to the sport. Daniel Suarez is going to run in the Xfinity car in the 9, and he's also going to run in that 99 as well. So it'll be a big weekend for him and for a lot of other drivers. Kyle Busch has run well in Mexico City before in the past as well. I think it's going to be a party, though. I love seeing the marketing and the social Larson down there on the boat, pushing, with the stick, going out, eating tacos, hanging out, enjoying local culture, understanding it, interacting with people. I think that part of it, that outreach part of it, is really cool from my seat. But the racing should be really exciting too. We know this next gen car runs pretty good at road courses for the most part. We've had good races at Watkins Glen. We had a good race at Coda this year. So I'm jazzed for it. I think it's going to be cool. Road courses are trying to appeal to the international F1 market. Is it losing the old fans? I think NASCAR is moving on from the old fans in a lot of ways, not just choosing to put road courses on the schedule. And I said this in my conversation with John, which will come up here shortly, because it's an hour, at least an hour long conversation, if y'all want to stay tuned for it. But I do think the road course is to appeal to a broader fan base, for sure. There are people who look at ovals and cannot understand what makes oval racing appealing. They don't understand the air that's happening. They don't understand the strategy with the tires. They don't understand fuel strategy like they normally would on an F1, style road course track. I do think it's partly to move on to a new fan base. I'm planning my bachelor party for next year, or for next season. It'll be spring of next season. I'll go to a race for a bachelor party. And I have friends who don't watch the sport, any motorsports, but they know about NASCAR now. Like the marketing is working and the product is being put in front of new audiences, and that's what this is supposed to be. And yes, old fans have to understand that there's a life cycle here, and I get they want to keep the tradition, but they have to keep the sport moving forward into the future. They have to make decisions that give the sport more mass appeal, and that's just the way it goes. They're not going to like every single decision that the sport makes, that NASCAR makes. Yes, NASCAR on Prime was a move away from older fans, and I said this talking to John. NASCAR on Prime is not for that fan base. It is NASCAR in the most, in the nicest way, saying to these older fans, we don't need you. We don't need you. You're not our core fan base anymore. We want you. You're a valuable part of our audience, but you're not the core of our audience. You can't take someone from that 45 to 65 demo and what are you going to do with them in 10 years from now? Not a lot. But what can you do with the core demo from 25 to 35 in 10 years from now? Like that's the golden ticket. And even if you can get them younger, great. Great. Hey, Dalton, have a good day. Appreciate you stopping in, hanging out for a bit. And the people who see this happening, I don't see any young people complaining about Prime. I haven't seen any young people. I'm 30. Like I'm not as young is anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't see a lot of people criticizing the Prime broadcast for the same reasons on Twitter that I do on Facebook. Like there's very clearly a delineation of, I don't like this because it's change. And I've said this before. My dad's almost 70. So he's the audience they're phasing out. And when he calls me and he goes, "How come I can't watch this race? What do you mean I can't watch this race? What are you talking about? I can't watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. I don't have that." My dad has my Amazon Prime. He has a button on his remote that takes him right to the Prime home screen. And he still calls me every Sunday. I love my dad and I help him. Watch it. But the example is that it's not designed for those folks. It is designed for new folks to come in. If it was up to me, they'd put them all on Prime. I think what we've seen there in 2 broadcasts, it's the best version, or any streaming platform that gives you the ability to have an in-depth pre-race and an in-depth post-race. I think that is the 2 real pillars of the Prime broadcast. What they do during the race that's not to discount what they do during the race, because it's been great. But that pre-race and post-race has been killer. That's been the winner. That's been the winning part of the broadcast for me. I haven't asked him if he likes the broadcast on Prime. I haven't asked him. I would imagine that he would, because watching races with my dad, he always complained about the commercials. so that was always his biggest complaint, outside of like, oh, the cars don't, he's an old fan. So you remember the old days of the cars driving differently, but the broadcast itself, I would have to imagine he has enjoyed it. I don't know how your TV works in the States, but in Canada, we stream everything. Even old people are using streaming services. See, let's get that mentality going. Let's teach them. Let's get them up to speed. I didn't see the difference because I stream Fox Sports anyway, but the people they put in place were gold. The sounds are absolutely what. Well, yeah, that's the other part of it too. Obviously, we talk about the talent selection for Amazon Prime, and they did a wonderful job with who they picked to be in the booth and who's at the desk doing pre-race, post-race. But the quality in the broadcast itself, right? The sounds are better. The video quality is higher. There's small things that Amazon can provide that other broadcast partners cannot, that cable limits them by. And it gives a better experience. Even if you tap into the stream before it even starts, they have like this rotating cameras, but they're changing cameras one after another, and it's just the raw audio from the track, just on the front stretch over here in the pit. But nobody's talking. It's just like iRacing when you go into a lobby before you actually enter the pit. It's just these little jumps back and forth. Yeah, I thought of you this morning when I made the stream title, Sal's Yappy Hour on TikTok. Thank you. Is NASCAR going to post all the race reruns on Prime moving forward? I enjoyed watching it on my day off on Monday. I'm pretty sure you can rewatch the races on Prime for the time being. I'm sure I know some of that Prime deal, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but fairly sure there's a tie with NASCAR Productions in there. And I would imagine if it was me in their shoes, I would definitely have negotiated for some type of replay rights where NASCAR still holds the rights to the replays to distribute them in a certain way where they can put them on YouTube or they can put them on that Tubi channel that they have, or leave them on Prime where people can go back and rewatch them on Prime as well. So half the people can't watch half the season because they don't have it, because they don't have TV. The other half can't watch the other half because they don't have streaming. That is something that is a good point. And that's something that happened. I've never seen a sport cycle 3 broadcast partners in one season. In terms of the CW, 4 really, CW for Xfinity, which thank goodness it's all there, right? There's no jumping around in Xfinity. But for the Cup Series, Fox, Prime, NBC. People have to remember that, and it's hard. It's hard to ask that of people, and I think they should. I think this is a learning phase for NASCAR and for what works with their broadcast partners and who's going to give them the most for their money. And as they go through their, their learning phase here, they're going to determine what works best for the sport and what's giving them the most revenue and the most result. And then they'll probably commit to more of either streaming or we commit to more of TV. Can we all agree that CW is the worst? We cannot all agree to that. I don't think CW has been bad this year. I don't. I think they've been a breath of fresh air for Xfinity compared to what it used to be. Prime coverage for NASCAR makes me believe there's hope. I kind of hope our ARCA races go to Prime. Makes it way easier than Fox to go back and watch. I want to see. I want to see more ARCA coverage. There's a lot of things about ARCA that I don't think are well displayed, or the stories aren't told well. I think there's a lot to dive into there in the ARCA series, and I know like the ARCA series like gets clowned on sometimes, and this and that, and people have opinions, but I think there's a lot of good stories there about the people, about the drivers, about the teams. These are people who are building cars, some of them in their garages, and trying to make this work and push the boundaries of what they can do. And there's such a storytelling aspect of that, especially that racing is this blue collar, buy your bootstraps sport. I think there's an opportunity there. It'd be cool to see them kind of dive maybe into that. At the same time, too, I understand there's business decisions that have to be made, and what is the revenue? What is the return on ARCA, on upgrading the ARCA broadcast? Like, are they going to get more money from partners? Is the viewership going to go up? So on and so on. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think there's an incredible storytelling opportunity there, Chris. Absolutely, 100%. CW has an app. It does, but the app has weird things that happen with it. Apparently, it blacks things out, and it's weird. Fox doesn't cover anything other than the top 5, killing the little guys. See, that's my thing is that's why I liked Prime in the last 2 races, because if cars are side by side, they have a camera on them, whether it's for the battle for the lead or the battle for 20th. And that's been cool to see them kind of help shine a spotlight. I mean, the Cup Series, everybody's big, right? Comparatively to ARCA, but it's nice to see. I want to see the battle for 20th. I want to see these guys setting up their turn. They're setting up their passes, and that helps me learn about the sport better as a fan. So I don't have Flow because it's super expensive for the amount that I would watch it. I think I've seen like their replays on YouTube and their free stuff, and they do a great job, like the way that they have that live stream broadcast set up. But I really don't know enough about Flow to also incorporate them into my analysis of it, because I haven't watched a lot. I haven't watched a lot on there. The price tag for an onboard camera is the reason no little guys have them. We have to pay. Is there opportunities, Chris, for ARCA drivers to do their own media in the cars? So, I mean, I know Cletus is Cletus, right? He already comes into this NASCAR experience with a huge social media following from what he does already. But I think there's I feel like there's opportunities for drivers and teams if they have the faculties to do it, if they have the ability to do live streams on their own. I don't know if I don't know if there's like broadcast rights or things that you can and can't do in the car. I'm sure there are. We're not allowed any of our own cameras because ARCA sells onboards. Okay, so they sell them, so nobody else can do anything. besides what they're going to sell you, which tracks. That tracks. That's a shame. That's a shame because there's so much. That's the kind of deal where it's like I understand it from the ARCA side, where it's like, okay, we want to make money, but don't we want to grow the series and attract bigger sponsors and attract more competition and bring more eyeballs to it? Okay, let people be more flexible with people. Let them, because it's free marketing, right? If you go out and you put a camera on your car and you have such and such number of followers on social or on YouTube or on whatever, like you're giving them free marketing, like just by being there. And is that worth the price of the in-car camera they would have charged you for? Probably is. I'm a big dirt track fan. That's why I like Flow. $80,000 a race for in-car cameras in ARCA? Is that what that is? Is that what you're saying? It's 80,000. So is it 8,000 or 80,000? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure before my head explodes. I can feel the blood bubbling to the top of my skull, thinking that it's 80,000. So I hope it's just a misplaced comma. Oh, 80,000 per race for a ride. That's crazy. So you're telling me it costs 80 grand to get the car on track, and then it's only 15 grand to win, essentially, on average. You're educating us, so if it sounds like I'm questioning it, I'm not questioning. I'm trying to process. I'm trying to process this information. So how does it make sense? Like I mean, I sit here and I think about, like, say if Sal went to go race, like I would have to try to make the money make some sense. Small guys are renting our low budget team seats for $10K. What's it cost you to, like, ballpark? What's it cost you to just put the car on track? Are you at least making your money back on any given weekend by renting that seat out, even for a small team? Real quick too, in the YouTube comments, Ann's comedy. I don't know if this is a fever dream, probably can't happen, but how cool would it be if you could tap into a broadcast option that allows you to watch the race from onboard cameras of the drivers? Well, you can on HBO Max. The HBO Max, you can just sit there and flip through the onboard cameras in the Cup Series. A lot of people have two TVs set up. If you're able to do that, go with God, because I certainly don't have two TVs set up on a Sunday afternoon. But a lot of people put the broadcast up on one TV, then they have HBO Max on another TV, and they shuffle through them all. Yeah, Arc is a conversation. It's a series that I don't know. There's it's getting more attention because of, like, influencers like Garrett and Cletus than the racing itself gets, which I think is tough. It's tough. And it's tough to have small teams go out there, like like what you're saying, Chris, where it's like it's super expensive for you to go out there and run those races. And I follow Willie Mullins on Instagram or on TikTok, and he's pretty open about how he runs things. And I don't know how small or big of a team he is. Just that's my own ignorance. I don't know. But just seeing the process he goes through to come out to a handful of races a year is pretty wild. Like me and Alex run on used tires with our team. See, that's tough. You're already at a pretty significant disadvantage, I would imagine, versus guys who are running on new tires, right? And then something happens, God forbid, and your stuff gets tore up, and then it's money out of your pocket to fix it and go back and try to do it again next week. That's the part where the ROI has to make sense too. But I don't know. You renting that seat for 10K, damn. If you're renting that seat for 10K, I might have to, my child doesn't need a college fund, right? Can I come run an ARC race? Imagine. But no, very interesting stuff there too. So we had, real quick before we dive into the conversation I had with John, Raja Karuth, your winner in the Truck Series. We had Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity Series this weekend, and Ryan Blaney finally, after 5 DNFs, getting it back, getting his back, and being at the tippity top this week in Nashville. So those are the results, race results from this weekend at Nashville. We'll look forward to the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series next week in Michigan. Another prime race. I think we have some good contenders next week. I think watch for Bubba next week. Watch for Bubba. I think that P6 this weekend gave him a little wind beneath his wings. So keep your eyes open there. All right, I'm gonna get this video interview set up here, and we'll get going. Chris, I definitely love to like pick your brain and have a conversation with you if you're open to that. I do like these conversations, like what I'll put up on the live right now, where I sit with people for like a half an hour, 40 minutes, and just want to hear their story about their place in the motorsports world and how they got into it, what, if they have, what their opinions are, if you're running your own team, obviously. So if there's opportunities that you're putting out there for people, I want to hear about it and put it out to my audience if that's something you're open to. So I'll definitely shoot you a DM. I followed you on here. I think if the TikTok studio is working correctly, it should have done that. But I'll definitely hit you up if that's something you're interested in. I'd love to kind of understand more about what it is that you're going through, because it's definitely something that's interesting to me. So, but I appreciate you stopping in. Be well. Have a good day. I would say have a good day at work, but some of us have good days at work, right? If you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. All right, let's get the interview with John pulled up here. Hang on, 2 minutes. And I have to clip that. I can't close that window. Okay, give me 1 sec. Appreciate everybody hanging in here. We have 52 viewers across the ATYL platforms this morning. Another handful here on TikTok. I always love the support on the Tickety Talk. The comments are always popping off. We have some great comments this morning on YouTube and on X here on the ATYL channels. Thank you guys for stopping in and supporting the stream. I know this is an early call for folks on a Tuesday morning. So, so I very much appreciate that from all of you. So let me pull up this. Now, I had this set up differently last week. So for you TikTok folks, you're the ones who unfortunately have to suffer a little bit, because I haven't quite mastered the production side of this. I haven't quite mastered yet. So please bear with me for a moment, and I will get us set up here so we can get cooking. I also have an ultra-wide monitor that I use to do this, and if you know anything about ultra-wide monitors, you know they can be a giant, colossal pain in the tuchus. Okay. All right, we're going to fire up John, and early call, you must not have. I don't have kids. I know people who have, like, a nephew, a little nephew. He likes to wake up his parents at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't envy that. It will be a transition for me to have children someday. We used to do this show at 7, and I don't know. For some people, it's an early pull to get on the internet at 7 o'clock in the morning. But I appreciate you all being here nonetheless, early or not. But with that said, I'm going to pull up this interview with John. Enjoy. It's kind of a long one. Taylor, if you're here, please don't yell at me. I'm probably going to go over time a little bit today on my live on the ATYL channels here. If I'm in trouble, you can come throw rocks at me or something. But Taylor would never do that. But here we go. To get into the motorsport space, you became interested in it, like you're like, oh cool, these guys turn left on TV and I like these, this F1 stuff or this IndyCar stuff. Like, what was the catalyst that really got you, what bug bit you at an early age?
Absolutely. So it really started when I was a kid. I'm a third generation fan, third generation Jeff Gordon fan, and that's what got me into it was my grandfather or my dad. And so my mom's dad was a huge racing fan. Watched it every single Sunday, but my dad's dad didn't understand it. He came from a basketball era, played basketball, and was like, John, why do you like?
Oh boy, it did it again.
I barely was able to like text it.
Okay, so how did you get into the motorsport space? You became interested in it, like you're like, oh, cool, these guys turn left on TV, and I like these, this F1 stuff or this IndyCar stuff. Like, what? All right, it did freeze. The interview does freeze for a second here at the beginning, so bear with me on that, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. I forgot that was in here. We had a whole section of the interview earlier too that, we had a whole section of the interview earlier than just the question you hear me ask him, but the internet did not cooperate with us yesterday. So keep in mind, we're all human beings over here, not professional live stream producers. So what was the catalyst that really got you, what bug bit you at an early age?
Absolutely. So it really started when I was a kid. I'm a third generation fan. Third generation Jeff Gordon fan, and that's what got me into it was my grandfather or my dad. And so my mom's dad was a huge racing fan, watched it every single Sunday, but my dad's dad didn't understand it. He came from a basketball era, played basketball, and was like, John, why do you like?
Yeah, oh boy, it did it again. It's here. You're frozen again.
The day I literally watching a race instead of going out to the beach because I wanted to watch this race. And he was like, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Also the movie Cars. That was a big catalyst. Really fun to watch that movie and to grow up with that movie. But really it was just picking it up and always loved cars. Just always loved cars. And aside from the fandom from my dad and my grandfather both being Jeff Gordon fans, growing up watching a car with flames on it, it's hard to not like that car. And so
the marketing works.
Yeah, it does. And so ever since just got on it. And as I've gotten older, I've just learned that, all motorsports are special in their own way. And they all provide different levels of whatever you're looking for in a motorsport, and started to dive into it more. And that's where I am today, watching literally everything. So.
And then you just created content. You were like, "Hey, I don't think people are talking about this enough. I'm going to put my head on Instagram and I'm going to start ripping this thing." Or what was the step you took to go from casual observer to more industry involved in terms of what you're doing in the media side?
Yeah, so it really started when I wanted to start a little side hustle, making paint schemes for drivers on iRacing and posting the time lapses of me making them, and that went really, really well. And I started thinking about it. I was like, look, I like this racing thing quite a bit. I want to kind of share my thoughts and talk to people about it and share news and everything. And so I switched it over from the Derudris paint studio. I think it was, I can't remember what I had it at the time, but I think automatically went to the Motorsports Enthusiast. I don't know why I really chose that at the time, but it stuck. And it started off just making paint scheme videos. And I was like, hold on a second. I want to talk a little bit more about this racing thing.
Might be onto something with that.
I want to do more with it. It's just, time in the day. We only have so much time.
I can definitely understand it. And it's been cool to see, I met you. I knew you from online, but met you more through what we do at ATYL Media together with Taylor and the whole team there. So shouts to them for connecting all these creators in this space.
Absolutely.
This model of content collaboration that's going on over there is very unique for the space that we are in. So it's been awesome to be a part of that with you and with everyone else. So I know you said you had back-to-back race weekends. It's got to be like running an Ironman. I mean, and you've gone quite the distance in terms of geographically, from one to another. I have my own back-to-back weekend story, but I'd love to hear what your experience has been like.
Yeah, so two different series, back-to-back weekends, the Indy 500, obviously in Indianapolis, and the NASCAR Cup race this past weekend in Nashville. And gosh, oh man, where do we want to start with Indy?
There's a lot to unpack. Those are two big races.
It is. It's a lot to unpack. And so I guess to kind of set the tone, and I've said this to multiple people, is that the Indy 500 is probably the biggest. No, it is. It is the biggest sporting event I've ever been to outside of Tennessee, Alabama, 2022, when Tennessee won, stormed the field. That I thought that was a lot of people, 110,000 sitting in Neyland. The sheer amount of people that go to the Indy 500 is just mind-boggling. So there was a video that I put out that was before all the stands were packed and after all the stands are full, and it's like nothing else. I mean, I now understand why it's called the greatest spectacle in racing. And while some people may say the racing was kind of the experience is unmatched. I mean, just kind of some basic things like the service, as in like phone service, was great all around the track. So like Nashville this past weekend, just complete poop, just dog.
I was gonna say, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's a complaint that fans have had at NASCAR and other properties all across the country, because you can't access anything while you're just at some of these properties. Yeah. So in Nashville, it was horrible. I mean, the second I pulled into the lot, I couldn't even make a phone call. And I barely was able to like text it, like maybe a couple times in the stands, nothing. My phone was on SOS. It was that bad. So it's just a glorified paperweight at that point. Oh, 100%. Like I'm just using this as a camera. It's now a very, very expensive camera. But at Indy, the service was fantastic. That was one big thing. And so the way that we structured the weekend was we went in on Saturday and use that day to just explore Indy, go to Speedway Indoor Karting, which was one of the best karting facilities I've ever been to, go and just experience what that city has to offer, but also just take in how big that track is. I've been to the track once before, but driving all around it and seeing all the people out in their garages, I mean, it literally shuts down the city. I mean, we were about 20 minutes out. That's where Airbnb was. And every house had an Indy 500 flag or a Indianapolis Motor Speedway flag. Everybody was celebrating, no matter where you went, really. And that's culturally is so cool to see because of how much it means to this community. Not to mention, there was also a very important, a very, very important basketball game that night. Obviously, didn't decide the series, but ultimately, ended up being not as meaningful, I think, as people in Indy wanted it to be that day. Correct. Which is the least we can do to spoil your parade a little bit. Right. And so the difference between the two, I mean, we can talk about that. Like, the fan bases, I feel like, are somewhat similar because of the fact of like who they are. Just seeing it visually. Obviously, different kind of rate. Well, similar racing because it's an oval or a rectangle. But I felt like the fans seeing what was in Nashville and what was in Indy, somewhat comparable. And Indy, let me just say, you had people wearing everything from going to that EDM fest, the snake pit, obviously, to like suits. Yeah. So you had the full spectrum of outfits. And so I think it was pretty comparable there. But the one cool thing that I loved and what we did is we woke up early, and I put out a video that had like 1,000 freaking comments. And people were like, you got to get there early. You got to get there early, like 5 or 6 a.m. And I was like, okay. Let me tell you, we left at 6, got to the track at 6:30, was in the track at 7, and we like no issues. Packed. No issues. That's good. No issues. We love that. A little quiet track early in the morning. That's awesome. But then I saw other people that said, "Oh yeah, we left at 4:30. There were people camping outside their cars outside of the track to get into the track so they could park." And I was like, "What the heck did you do?" I had other people that left at 8 and got to their seats by 9:45. I have a friend who's gone for 20 straight years, and he was like, "Yeah, we just show up at 10 o'clock every day," and he was walking around by 11. And so it's just wild. Yeah. And so at an event with 350,000 people, I forget, they said it was like 1 in every 1,000 Americans was in attendance for that race. And I think that's something I didn't realize. Like, there was an infographic, which I love infographics. I can't make them, but I like looking at them. And it was like the different stadiums across the United States and what their seating capacities are. Yeah. And it got to MetLife, which is in my neck of the woods. So like, I'm familiar. I've been to events at MetLife, and that place packs out. And then to see them compare it to Indianapolis Motor Speedway in terms of just raw like size of here's how many people we can pack in here. It's like quadruple. Like you could fit 350,000 people in that place. And that's not who's camping in town. That's not who's staying at Airbnbs. That's not who's around in the industry or as fans, you know, in Indiana, in Speedway, in Indianapolis for that weekend. And it's like, there has to be just, I'd love to see that number quantified, like what it really is. I don't want to like say 500,000 people, but that's what it looks like from the casual observer, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it well could be. I mean, it was jam packed. I mean, everywhere you went. I mean, and that's the big thing is, so we parked, our seats were at the exit of 4 right before pit entrance. And so what everybody said was park close to where your seats are. So there's a gate in it went to turn 4 corner. So we parked about a mile away for about $40 and walked about a mile, took about 30 minutes, but overall easy walk. And nobody was there, but we just walked on in and scanned our tickets. There wasn't a line, and we just meandered around for like 3-4 hours before the race. And I think hearing all of the stories of you have to get there early, and all these different things, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be rough. And then experiencing it in the way that we did, I was like, that wasn't bad at all. I've experienced worse going to, ironically, the Nashville race. The first year they came back, we were stuck on the interstate for 2 straight hours because they didn't know how to work that. They just the system wasn't built out that way. But it was just a phenomenal experience overall. So I don't know if you have any specific questions. I'm open to answer anything you want.
I mean, the Indy 500 is such a spectacle to me. I mean, it seems like this wild experience, not just, you kind of alluded to it earlier, where it's like, it's a spectacle because it's not just about the racing, right? The snake pit is happening. You have these very prestigious folks who show up from all different sectors of sports and competition. I mean, didn't have it on my bingo card that Jimmy Johnson and Tom Brady were going to go rip around, you know, in the 2-seater. You know, the Weenie Mobile race, like that thing.
10 out of 10.
Like, so who thought of that? Like, that's crazy. You don't see that anywhere, like in the motorsport space on any given weekend.
Right.
I think those, and then you have the prestige of, like, you know, there's conversations in the media where it's like, okay, well, winning the Indy 500 to some people is bigger than becoming an IndyCar champion, like season champion. And you know, the history and the heritage of that place. Did you happen to go to the museum while you were there?
No. So Saturday was all booked.
They just remodeled it, I know.
They
so
did.
I've been to the track. I went to the track like 2 or 3 years ago. No events were happening, but I got to go to the museum. It was incredible just to see like the history of the race itself and what used to run there, compared to the spaceship level cars that IndyCar is working with now, where it's, you know, it's incredible to have that context as a fan. I think it makes you appreciate the racing that much more. But again, the spectacle, the Blackhawks flying and stuff, like,
oh my goodness, dope. Oh my gosh. So the museum, we were gonna go try to do that. Ultimately, we had to get back into town the next day, so didn't really have a good time to do that on Monday. But one thing I want to go back to, you said about Tom Brady and Jimmy Johnson riding around. Yeah. The amount of boos that we heard in the stands when Tom Brady went by and middle fingers I saw. Let me just say, they don't like Tom Brady in Indianapolis very much.
Yeah.
Understandably so. I can get it. I get it. But I just laughed the whole time. But the Blackhawks flying over was surreal. I mean, I saw them going around and I was like, there's no freaking way. There's no damn way they're doing this. And they were flying pretty low as well. Yeah. I mean, it was low.
You could see it on TV. Oh, yeah. It looked like you could reach out and touch them from the grandstands.
And those things are massive. And that just leading the field around, I mean, the pageantry, the traditions of it. When they played taps, I don't know if they showed that on the broadcast, but that just, everybody's quiet, just chills up and down my arms. I mean, it was surreal. And I think the thing is that looking throughout the day that we were there, because it was my first time and three of our first times, the group that I went with, 3 out of the 4 people we've never been, getting there early was so worth it, because you got to really, and getting there early enough to where it's not a lot of people, you could take it all in. and just be in the moment. You know, you're not getting there when it's jam packed. Let me tell you, when it was, 10 o'clock, everybody was showing up. Yeah, you were packed like a can of sardines in that freaking midway. But it was just done very, very well. I mean, everything from the obviously concessions are going to be long. There's nothing you could do about that. But the merch tents, I mean, everything was A+ in my book. So, yeah, incredible. Honestly, incredible.
You think you're gonna make this a tradition? Yeah, where it's like, because I know you said you knew somebody who had been like 20 years, or somebody who reached out to you who'd been like 20 years, and I've seen a lot of people who are like, yeah, this is my, I know somebody from work, this is his 30th year going to India, and there's people who live there, who go, their grandfather went, and they go, and it's like, this is a big thing that people like make a tradition. So it's good to hear that you're bought in enough to like be all right, cool. Yeah,
for sure.
Go back.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an every year thing. It has to be. And thinking about, so my friend Zach, met him there. He's been and sat in the same section for like 20 straight years. He's been with his family. We had a guy in front of us it was his 43rd.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I don't think he hasn't gone every year, but he said the first race he went to, I think he said, was 1968. And
that's
so
like Mario Andretti days.
That is, which is, I mean, you're talking about elite of the elite in motorsports. I mean, that Foyt, that era was unparalleled. So and that's the cool thing about it. There's so many stories that outline the whole weekend. You could be sitting next to somebody who's never gone. You could be sitting in front of or behind somebody who's gone every year for the past 40 years, and he could tell you the stories, and that's what he was doing. He's telling us the stories of what it was like coming to the track as a kid in the 60s. And it's just like, that just makes this event so much more prestigious and so much more meaningful to everybody. And I could see why people go to it every single year, even if the racing's a dud, which people may say it was. Like, see, the raw speed of these cars on this track in person,
it's gotta be wild.
Like, it makes NASCAR looks like a snooze fest. It'll make NASCAR
really
look like
that exciting, that fast.
Well, they're passing you at 230.
230.
Yeah, like, I mean, the Cup cars can only get to about 190, 193, 194 if they're, on a good day on a super speedway. But again, the whole thing, if you haven't gone, you have to go. I mean, it is a bucket list, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's
been on my list. I thought I would get out there by now, but I haven't quite made the trek. So it's definitely one of those. I feel like everybody who's into motorsports in any capacity, it's a hallmark event. If you get the chance, you go. And then you end up last night at Nashville, which watching it on TV, I'm sitting there and it's like it's big Dover to me. Like, I'm a Dover guy. I've been to Dover how many years in a row, and I'm like, concrete super speedway where they're complaining they have no brakes and have to shift through the corners. This is a big short. This it sounds stupid, but it's a big short track. Yeah. That's the way it felt most of the night. So you go out to Nashville now too. That facility looks incredible. I heard the tear down a little bit. Gluck was talking about his experience there and how it was more than what he anticipated it would be in terms of from where it started. And I don't think a lot of people realize Nashville only was reintroduced to the Cup schedule 4 years ago. Yeah. So this is a fairly new experience for fans after a long hiatus. You are like right there. Mm-hmm. What you were there all weekend. You got to see some great racing. That truck race was unbelievable. I was sitting right here watching it. Raja Carruth put on a show. I mean, they all did with Heim and Riggs, and I've never sweat more over a truck race finish than I did sitting there. And it's like, my God, but the racing looked really good all weekend. Maybe not as in your face as the Coke 6 or a track like Charlotte for this next gen car, or even for the Xfinity cars. But there were some exciting things. What was that experience like being at Nashville? It
was phenomenal. Also, one thing I have to say about Indy, because I know people are going to ask about it, the tailgating is absurd.
I'm sure.
A lot of people can equate it
Talladega level?
Talladega Boulevard level.
Wow.
And that's all I'm going to say. So
that level.
We did not participate because we wanted to be at the track, Sal. But it is yes, there. I with all the comments I've gotten, there are specific places to where it is maybe even a level above Talladega Boulevard. So
that's wild because I've seen the dirtiness that goes down on Talladega Boulevard.
Yeah,
If you can get a level above that,
not
you're
everywhere.
Doing something special.
Not everywhere, but it's a party all weekend long, and that's really cool. How many campers and who was tailgating and who had tents set up and the families that were around the area. I mean, it literally the whole city celebrates, and that was a really cool thing. But okay, Nashville. So I had to make that point because I know a lot of people are asking me about how that was. We didn't do it because we wanted to just go experience the track and be there for the first time. So Nashville, it was from where it started. This is the 5th race that they've had here, fifth race weekend. From where it started to where it is today, completely different experience. Obviously, the first year was back, huge because of the fact that it was back. This year felt more like an event, like an experience. And the way that they've brought in, I'm just going to say this, a more appropriate sponsor, I would say, one that's more recognizable among people who are not fans of racing. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what Cracker Barrel is. Everybody's drive down an interstate and seen a Cracker Barrel, like, oh, look, there's a Cracker Barrel. And that, in the way that they've had Prime showcase this race, the fan zone experience with the actual car from the 24 Hours of Le Mans, we confirmed it, the real car.
That car gets around, by the way. That thing travels.
It does.
It's so cool to see in person.
It does. And the Dale Senior car that they had there, the activations they had, there's even the small things. There's like string lights underneath the main grandstand that makes it a little bit more of a almost like an elevated field. There's I think it's Echo Park, the Echo Park suites that are behind, I think it was like Bowman all the way down to past Byron Stalls. That was a whole experience with string lights. And something just as small as that really elevates what this event is. And let me tell you, dude, they said it was sold out. That place was packed.
It looked it on TV. You hear them say sold out, and then like from the marketing world, you go, okay, like, all right, so they sold all the tickets to StubHub. How sold out is it? And then they whip that camera around, like in those, the Prime broadcasts have been really great for a lot of reasons. But one of my favorite things is they just have like static cameras that they'll shift between at the ahead of the races with just open audio that you can like see what's going on around the track, and they'll just flip from one to, and you can see in those, like, there's nothing to hide because the stands are full. Yeah, full.
Yeah, it was full. We had one seat to the left of us, but we were at 133, so it was basically where the grandstand kind of starts to turn and go along the curvature of the front straightaway. But it was packed, and I gotta say, it was a lot of younger people like our age, a lot, which is beautiful to see, because I saw somebody on social media today, and I didn't comment, I didn't stitch it, but I might stitch it because I like stirring the pot a little bit. And it was just this older guy who was like,
it's usually the ones you want to stir things up.
Oh yeah, it gets fun. Had one of my comments. Well, I had a young kid in my comments this morning. But either way, this guy was like, yeah, NASCAR sucks because you got to pay for Prime. And then somebody that I know commented and said, well, did you know that Prime has a free 30-day subscription that you don't have to do anything, and you could watch all 5 races? And I'm just like, thank you. And I mean, I will admit, having this many like platforms to have to watch a sport, it's annoying. I get it 100%. Yeah. But the level that Prime has been able to create of what just the broadcast in of itself, they can make a boring race exciting, which is what I kind of heard what this was at the track. Now, don't get me wrong. On TV, it's one experience than what's on the track. And to me, what I was looking at was I was literally timing the gaps between where Blaney was, where the back of that line of cars were, where Gibbs was kind of pulling them along, and where Joey Logano was in P4. Timing that gap, I was looking at and watching different battles going on track. And to a casual fan, that's just, they're not going to pick that up out on track. It's just not going to happen. But I thought that the way that the track and just the event as in of itself, it kind of was starting to feel more of like an experience than a race. I mean, it felt more complete this year, I guess I got to say. But Prime,
I think that's what a lot of venues are searching for.
Yeah.
I think a lot of venues are searching for that experiential play versus just being a one kind of dimensional event. I know that from working in the event space where it's like, you know, we have this event, but how can we make it more appealing? But, you know, where is the mass appeal converge with our audience?
Yeah.
And I think NASCAR has done a great job, and the tracks themselves really, I guess, deserve most of the credit. The staffing at the tracks, and the promoters and the people that are really pushing the envelope, because you get more conversation now about how they're more than just a race. And Prime, I mean, if you get the chance, I would encourage you to go back and just like scroll through the broadcast from Prime.
Yeah.
But like they did a great job of making certain moments in that race that could have been presented in much less exciting ways. They made them feel important, and they talked about certain things on track, like when Blaney was out and away, you know, there was a lot of focus on how he got there. Like, let's tell the story of, okay, yeah, he is 3 seconds ahead, but we're not going to talk about, you know, how there's such a gap. Let's talk about what got him there and the history with Penske and the way that they call their races and they flip strategy. And, you know, and then there was a lot of conversation around Carson Hocevar because he's running in second place at the end. You know, with everything that happened earlier on, is he going to be this villain after this week? And, you know, there was a lot of conversation there, but the battles that they've been able to showcase, that was my biggest complaint about previous broadcast partners, was they wouldn't split screen the leader and a battle for 20th.
Right.
You know, if cars are running side by side, I want to see it.
100%.
Like, and I feel like Prime has done a lot of that. I've had people who I'm friends with for years who not into motorsports at all. Cars go in circle, me no like. And I have a friend who works in the entertainment industry, works for WWE, and he, you know, there's a tie there to NASCAR, but he never watched. And I was talking to him last night, and he was like, yeah, like I'm a big Denny Hamlin guy now. Like I watched the last 2 weeks, and I like this, and I like that, and they do this. And I'm like, so like to your point about the older generation too, I can't get Prime. Well, it's not for them. Like I encourage everyone to use their 30-day trial. Go use it. But this is not for you. Like this is not for, like my dad didn't know how to get Prime up on his smart TV. Yeah. There's a button on the remote that says Amazon Prime. Like this isn't rocket science. We're not splitting atoms.
Right.
Regardless, this is not designed to continue to cultivate an audience of that generation. It is designed they're planting seeds with these types of broadcast deals and the activations on track, and it seems to be working. I'm sure there'll be a comprehensive look back at the end of this year. Okay, where did we see the most growth in what demographics, in what, and what's important to the sport? Yeah. I'm really excited to see how that all breaks down. I think that data will be super useful to not just NASCAR, but to teams and how they market themselves as well. Sure. But yeah, super interesting stuff. But go back and scroll through and catch some pieces of that Prime broadcast.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to. And you mentioned the cumulative numbers. You know, it may look low because not as many people probably have Prime, but it's who's watching Prime.
Correct.
And I think they're in a cultural shift within their demographic. And with going to the track, you're going to have those older people. You're going to have those younger people. But this is my second race I've gone to this year. I went to Atlanta and I went to, obviously, Nashville. Nashville, obviously, is a little bit of a different demographic, of course. But the amount of people that I would say probably that are in their 20s and 30s that were there was more than what I've seen in the past. And there were a lot of kids there, which is great to see. Of course, there's those seasoned veteran fans, and you can tell. But it's in a shift, and like you said, it's not for that demographic. It's not. And
Yep.
like you said, NASCAR's planting those seeds. They're doing a great job. And I think I would love to see Prime on all 36. I would love to see Prime on all 36.
Absolutely.
And I have not watched any of the post races, but I've heard that it's just them sitting down with some beers, just chatting. Like
it's 10 out of 10
just
in entertainment
and
even in information. Like it's journalism with its shirt unbuttoned. It's
exactly,
it's nice.
And and you said back to the point of Blaney out front with 3-second lead. In any traditional freaking broadcast, they're just gonna kind of yap. Oh, he's got a 3-second lead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 3.5.
We've seen it and heard it already this year.
Like, and I haven't heard it, but the fact to hear that they're storytelling how Blaney got there.
Oh yeah.
It's what the generation that is going to build NASCAR to a different level or to where it can be. That's what's going to matter. Carson Hocevar going out there, sitting in the stands. He was
the truck race.
3 races, three rows behind us, and I think a section over. I have a video of like I panned over. It's a shot of the track, and then I pan over and I get Carson's head because he's so damn tall, and it's like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" And he was just sitting up there, and I think it's to the point where we are starting to see this shift, and it's a very calculated shift. It's a very appropriate shift, and I knew people who are a part of, the media team that was at the track that were getting questions from fans in the fan zone and going around and getting photos, and the amount of candid photos that were at the track and who they're showcasing in their ads. There's an ad that's going around right now. I don't know if you saw it, but I think it was Nashville Super Speedway or it was NASCAR, where last year there was a Kyle Busch themed bachelorette party that went on a race day, who is now at the front of not every ad, but this one ad. I mean, it's like a quick, like 8-second, or not 8 seconds, it's like a 2-second clip.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the representation you need. That's what you want.
100%. And you had, there were bachelor parties there. I mean, it's great to see because it is going in a direction that I think they can make it interesting when it's not interesting. And that's the thing. How do you make it interesting when there's nothing going on? Like you said, side-by-side battles, having this like almost like a fireside chat at the end of the race. I mean, where it's just it's much more natural, it's much more raw. It
feels modern. Yeah. It feels modern. And listen, I love like traditional broadcasting. You go back and you listen to old race calls, and there's a certain level of like shirt and tie. There's but I think as like you said, it's not for certain people anymore. It's turning over into this more interactive broadcast experience for audience members because of the world we live in and how everybody can comment, everybody can make video, everybody can do anything on the internet and put it out there to the public versus, in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, it was a one-way experience. Yeah. You received, that was it. There was very little feedback from the audience. Now, NASCAR Twitter is like a thing. Like they cite NASCAR Twitter in post-race conversations. Yeah. Everyone communicates this way. Drivers, make their opinions heard, and it's become part of this new generation of a fan, but also the fans control some of what we see too, from the broadcast level to the racing product on track to the experience in which they're being shown the races. So I'm glad to hear that it was a good at-track experience. Oh, yeah. Because it looked like it was a good time. It looked like it was a good time on TV, and even being able to bring it wouldn't have shocked me if they didn't bring Bubba Wallace up after his P6. Right. If it wasn't on Prime, but I think that's the big thing is like they have so much time to do it. Where long form pre-race, longer form post-race, like that's like college game day type stuff.
Exactly.
Like we don't have to. And I've said it previous content. Not, they don't have to cut to the Professional Bowling Association. You know, we don't have a hard stop at a certain hour. Oh, we have to change 6 channels to get to the.
Yeah.
There's none of that anymore. It's this is where it is. Stay here, watch this, and that's it. And it's I think it's a home run. But Nashville, I mean, that's a track where I was watching the truck race Friday night, and I texted a buddy of mine, and I was like, we need to put this on the list.
Oh, dude, that truck race.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was so as a Caruth fan, I was sweating because I was like, how do you hold off time, and how do you hold off Riggs? The fastest guy in the trucks and a guy who can ruffle some feathers there, and he did it. And let me tell you, the amount of cheers in the stands, it was so good to see. It was so good to see for a lot of reasons, but the backing that, and also the people that showed up for the truck in the Xfinity race, you know, it's going to bring lower attendance levels just because.
Sure.
But great to see. And let me tell you, dude, there is not a bad seat at Nashville. I mean, if you sit close to the fence, you may miss kind of the exit of 2 going to the mid to the back just because there's that sweet tent there. But if you're 20 rows up, if you're 15 rows up, if you're 50 rows up, you could see everything. And so you gotta make your way down. Make your way down, dude.
Yeah, it's on the list, along with a couple others that I'd like to get to before too long. But the concrete aspect of that track, to me, I know there's people who don't like concrete tracks. I don't know about running them at night, but you know, running them during the day, again. Dover has been my home track for many years, and it's like, okay, I've seen the races at Dover that have been really exciting. Yeah. It's usually during the brightest, sunlightiest days. But I'd be interested I would love to check it out. I think that concrete track really has something to unlock. Brad Keselowski said it's been aging like fine wine.
It has.
So yeah, it was cool to see that action last night.
Yeah, the third lane, Willie B rolling around multiple times on the high side was just. I mean, there's a video of me. I was going nuts when him and Blaney and Hamlin were battling.
Yep. Let
me just say, the pure joy that filled my soul when I saw every single person in the track, in the stands, go berserk when Byron passed Hamlin for the lead. I may have teared up a little bit as a fan, but because it was so joyful, dude. It was because I mean, people were flipping Hamlin off. I mean, it was great, and I was like, wow, I don't even know what the capacity. I have thousands of fellow Byron fans with me right now. But it is aging, and it's aging really, really well, and we saw that Highline, work. I mean, extremely well on multiple restarts. And yeah, dude, it was great. It was
fun to watch him roll the top. Just unlike other drivers couldn't seem to figure it out. It was very Kyle Busch of him. Mm-hmm. That's what it reminded me of kind of the old days when Busch used to have the car geeked up a certain way where he could make those moves. Mm-hmm. Byron seemed to be the only one who could get up high like that and make it work. Other guys tried, didn't quite have the success. Nope. One thing they did talk about a lot this weekend in general, especially in the Cup race, but was the impact of the dirty air and the way that really kind of stifled maybe some of what could have been. But I don't know. The weekend felt good. That truck race, I still can't. I think the truck race might have been. I'm really happy for Blaney and coming off 5 DNFs. He's finally able to make it happen, get that win for him and his team with everything going on at Penske and the whole thing. But that truck race was. That was a special one.
Top notch. Yeah.
What was your favorite moment from Nashville though?
100% Byron passing Hamlin for the lead, dude. That was like I was going nuts. I was going crazy. I mean, I think that was probably the most surreal because I've gone to a multitude of races and I got to go back and fact check this, but and this is my fan speaking. As a Byron fan, Nashville hasn't been a great track for him, so seeing him finish up there in the top 10 was beautiful. Finished 5th, I believe. Yeah, it was 5th. And that was really cool. I think I would say that would probably be my favorite part outside of just like hanging out, just hanging out with people. Kind of doing a tailgate the Saturday before or for the Xfinity race and for a little bit for the Cup race. That's always exciting to do. But that moment I felt in those stands when I just, pure joy filled my soul, Sal. I was like, this is what I want. And I haven't seen him win yet. Seeing him win made top the list of like life achievements. So
I've seen a lot of drivers win. I don't think I've seen William Byron win yet. I've seen a lot of Kyle Busch and a lot of Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I've seen Hamlin. Yeah, Hamlin multiple times. I've seen a lot of Penske. See Kyle Busch win at Talladega once. That was cool.
were we at we were at the same race, Spring 23.
When he drove that, was it the McLaren Grills car?
Yeah, the weird one-off grill. Yeah, I was at that race. Yeah, that was wild.
It was. So like I've seen Chastain win, obviously, because he was in Nashville, Larson, Elliott, all those guys. But yeah, no, I'm waiting for that Willie B win.
That Kyle Busch win at Talladega was the first half of my back-to-back weekend where we went to Talladega, me and a couple of the boys drove from New Jersey to Talladega, 17-hour drive.
Oh, no.
So we went for the weekend. We had intended, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show up. We're going to see the trucks. We're going to see the Xfinity cars. We're going to see it all. We're going to go to the Cup race, the whole nine. Talladega Boulevard, the whole rig.
Oh, boy.
All right, so we do that. Time to go home. Race is over. Pack it in. On the car ride home, we go, well, Dover's next weekend. Like, we have to drive. We have to drive past Dover to go home, and Dover's only 2 hours from the house. So we ended up all going home, unpacking our stuff, and then the next weekend, jumped back in the car and went right back down to Dover. Right back down to Dover. And after that weekend, I took days off of work. I took sick days after that. I was like, this is too much for me. I'm tired. I need to go to sleep.
34 hours driving, like 17.
Oh, we do that. We do a lot of that when we travel for races.
Up there. Goodness gracious. The furthest I've driven is from Nashville to Miami. That was 12 or 13. Okay. Which is a long drive. So yeah, the driving this weekend up to Indy is like 4.5 from where we are. No, you could do it. Really, you could do it. Leave on a Saturday, get there Saturday night, show up to the race on Sunday, and then if you want to drive back that night, you could. So yeah,
those day trips, the day trip Cup races or the day trip races that you do are brutal sometimes. I don't know. I'm planning for Pocono right now. So Saturday night I have to work, barring any weather, at Wall Stadium Speedway, and then the announcer who does the PA at Wall Stadium also does the PA at Pocono for the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. So instead of going up for the weekend, I'm going to go up the day of on Sunday, I think. And it's like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. And then I'm going to turn around and go home the same day. And I'm dreading that. Like, I'm going to do it, but I'm dreading it.
It's always a drive. Yeah. I had a buddy. Oh my goodness. He drove down from Ohio to go to the races this weekend. And he left because the race ended at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Didn't get out of the parking lot till probably about 11. He had to drive 7 hours back to Ohio. Drove overnight, and I was like, dude, you got to give us updates because this is not a great idea. This is not a great plan. Yeah, we got there.
Long day.
Yeah, we got there at 2:30, and then was there tailgating, went to the fan zone, went to the race, obviously, and he drove back. So see, that's the thing is like overnights. That's just
it's hard.
That's tough. That's tough, especially if it's not like 2 or 3 hours. Like that's doable, but like when you're pushing 5. Pushing 6, it's just like how worth
That's what we did when we left Talladega. We left after the race, as soon as the race ended, and drove the 15 some odd hours back home
through the night.
We switched drivers, but we drove overnight through the night.
Oh boy, yeah.
Thank God it was get it over with. But yeah, that's my biggest thing is like I don't want to drive anymore. So it's like, how do you fly? How do you get the accommodation?
Yeah, it's what you said. We were talking about how do we afford a private jet to do the double, next year. So
that'd be crazy.
Private jet into Indy and then private jet to Charlotte. And we could talk about that. That's a hot topic.
The double?
The double. Yeah.
It's I don't know, man. What do you think? What'd you think of the double because to me it's more than just this year. I look at last year and this year as one combined double experience.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that it was Larson, Hendrick, Arrow McLaren back to back times. It wasn't like
Right.
two different drivers tried at two different years.
Right. Yeah, it's what is the significance of it in the world of motorsports? I think that is the question, because it's important. Don't get me wrong, but even wasn't Kyle even questioning it too? He was like, is it
Kyle Busch?
the Kyle Larson?
Oh,
I'm not sure if he was questioning or not, but I mean, it's I'm curious. Is like, obviously he got involved in two wrecks,
Yeah.
in both races.
not a good day for him.
No, terrible day. And so, like, the attempt in of itself means something. Obviously, Tony Stewart's the only one to do it all the way through. I think it's cool. I think it has its prestige. But now, how realistic is it is the thing. Like, how...
I think that's where the prestige slips away.
Yes, because it's like there's so many variables. Not saying it's harder to drive in this era versus previous eras, but how, I mean, like,
The cars are so different. I mean,
exactly.
They talk about how they're similar, but if you're so disciplined in your style of racing, you're not gonna just race one-offs and be really, really competitive, running the car twice lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, I don't feel like it's what it was where, I mean, it's tough because you could go into a whole conversation about like the pipeline for drivers and where they get their experience and how they grow in their skill sets because, Tony Stewart has that background.
Yeah.
He had it before he came to NASCAR. Like
Exactly.
he had been doing different things. Larson's a dirt guy. Like it's very different. It's very different. I don't know. And I feel like it's harder now too because series have made it difficult. Like NASCAR hasn't made it easier for guys to try the double.
No.
So it's like now you're going to sit there and sweat over, am I going to make it back to Charlotte? Because I have a series that I run in weekly that I'm going to have to protect my position. And, it's, I don't know. It doesn't seem as feasible as it used to.
Right. And the other thing is if you're going to do it, he could have just put around in the back, he'd stayed on the lead lap, not fought anybody, just made sure he stayed ahead of the leader, done the same thing in Charlotte, and completed the double.
That's not Kyle, though.
I feel like that is worse than battling through the field and getting wrecked, even though that he did spin on his own. But whatever it might be, dude's not going to go in there and not try to win both races. And I think that's where we got to level it out. It's like, okay, you could go ahead and do it and just try to putz around and yada, finish it up, fly away, then, do it again for the 600. But he didn't. He was up there trying to make his way through the field. He was up there battling with cars. He was up there trying to do this. Unfortunately, it happened in both races, which sucks. But again, I think that if you're going to do it, you have to go out there with the expectation that you're going to try to win the race. And as long as that's there, I think that the prestige of it still lies because, what's better, wrecking trying or finishing last, but completing it? That's where that subjective take comes in. So,
yeah. Do you think we'll see another Cup driver take a stab at it in the near future? Or do you think it's kind of this passing thing now where other drivers have watched Larson go through what he's gone through and go, maybe that's not. And I understand the drivers don't get to decide. I had somebody trying to chew me out in a comment. I understand that it's not a driver decision, right? It's a money decision. They need to get the right sponsors. They have to have the right people on board to even allow the opportunity to be offered, much less for a driver to accept it. That's why you hear like Kyle Busch talking to Denny Hamlin recently about how he had deals lined up all over the place and then it never ended up panning out. But like, I'm curious, do you think another driver will take a stab at it, or do you think it's going to be a thing where they kind of lay low on it for a while?
It's after what has happened the last 2 years with it. I think it may lay low just for a little bit of time. but I think it's not going to take as long to do it again. I think it's going to happen probably within the next 5 to 10 years. I would be curious to see who they would want to do this, because could it be the reverse? Could we see,
that was the next question.
Scott McLaughlin. Could we see Scott McLaughlin?
Yeah.
I would love to see Joseph Newgarden get behind the wheel in a cup car. Maybe even like, I'm just trying to think of drivers who would fit. I mean, really, the Penske guys that's the one team where you can
That's
see
the world where it makes sense, because they
Right.
have that flexibility for them to point and say, "You get in that car,
Exactly.
We'll field another open car. We have the chassis sitting at the shop. Go run it if you can."
I think it'll happen. I would be curious to see if they wanted to do it from that perspective, because the thing is, could we see the transition be a little bit easier for like a Joseph Newgarden or a McLaughlin going over and racing in a Cup Series car versus Kyle Larson going and racing an open wheel car? Like, could we see the transition change? We don't know. We don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, we do know that SVG and Scott McLaughlin are going to run Legends in the summer shootout this
I
summer.
saw them practicing.
Yes.
They were practicing the other night already.
Scott is in oh boy, if good luck, Scott.
The summer shootout is a brawl.
Oh.
Gloves. I went 2 years ago to see some of those races. I just happened to be in Charlotte at the same time. It is a gloves off brawl. They are not afraid to make it work to get things done at that event.
Dude, it's I would love to see the double happen again. If it's going to be Cup to Indy or Indy to Cup, I don't really care. I think it's just like you said, the right person, the right time, the money, all the sponsors. Like, it makes more sense with Penske. I mean, maybe we see Logano do it. I think Logano would be a great fit to try. I mean, Larson makes sense with.
I want to see Christopher Bell do it.
Yes, I'm thinking of drivers that would have a great crossover. Bell, fantastic.
Yeah, I think he'd be somewhat competitive in the right equipment.
Absolutely.
But again, the alliances have to be there, and that's why I think it's why we always kind of default back to the Penske connection. Not just is it easy for them to swap drivers in and out of cars wherever they want in the organization, but the cars are competitive everywhere, and we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of attenuators, but the cars are fast everywhere, no matter what. So it's just a matter of who's in them.
I didn't wear my Joseph Newgarden hat for a reason. So
I see the little thing on your window back there. So you're not totally out of the woods.
I know. I got him right there too. Dang it! I'm hoping you were going to call me out on that.
Not totally out of the woods.
I know.
A Hendrick fan and a Penske fan. Dude loves pushing the limits. I love it.
I do. Yeah, I have to. Why not? I love just really stirring the pot with people and just making people upset. No, I'm kidding.
They're so easily upset. Which is what makes it exciting.
It's so awesome. I have people that just absolutely shit on me because I'm a Byron fan, and I'm like, what is he genuinely? What has he ever done? But he just drives for Hendrick. He just drives for Hendrick. Like, okay, you don't like Hendrick, so now you don't like him, but he's not really done anything to you. Like, okay. Joseph Newgarden, I like him because he's a Nashville guy. He went to my rival high school, so that's kind of fun.
That's cool.
But so I have a tie there.
It's a connection. Those local connections always run deep. I know how that goes. It's cool.
They do. Yeah, that's why deep down inside, I would love to see Josh Berry do well. Love to see Joseph do well.
Awesome.
Oh gosh,
Josh Berry's story as a bank teller to iRacing to Cup winner is Banana Town.
It is. I'm curious. Oh boy, this is fun. So with Tim Cindric not involved with Penske and Austin Cindric.
Here we go.
So I have a friend who is a very, very, very big Josh Berry fan. Very big. He wants Josh to go to the 2 car.
The pipeline is available.
It is.
It's not out of the question. Totally. I mean, do you think that 2 car becomes available because of Tim Cindric being no longer with the organization?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because here's the thing: both have won a race this year.
Sure. Who's got the higher ceiling is where I get into it, where it's like, I don't know the answer. I don't think he's going to lose that ride.
I don't either. But could we see a swap? Could we see a swap?
I mean, the trade market in NASCAR has certainly become a thing.
Yeah.
The Haley LaJoy thing was kind of the first time we've seen it in recent memory. But I mean, over the years, you've seen relationships change and drivers end up other places over a lot less than what this situation was. So certainly not out of the question. I don't know.
I think Barry is better than Cindric. I think Barry.
I think he's more well-rounded as a driver in general, from his late model experience all the way up through what he's doing now, from the time he spent in Xfinity and the whole thing. Not to like minimize Cindric's accomplishments, because he's an Xfinity. Is he Xfinity? Do you win an Xfinity Series championship?
I want to say yes. I want to say yes. Yeah,
fairly certain he did.
May have to fact check that one. But both are good in their own right. But I think Barry has more potential just because of what he's been able to do throughout his career across a lot of different things and being able to win. Like, I don't think the Wood Brothers cars are better than Penske's. And the fact that Josh got the win at Vegas was monumental for him. And he's been able to run up front too. He's been able to be up there
in a serious way, week in and week out.
And we no hate on Harrison Burton, but it wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And you've seen what he can bring to a team. Can he elevate that third Penske car to where you're saying, okay, we not only have to worry about Blaney, who just won, we don't have to worry about Logano, who's a 3-time champ. Now do we have to worry about another car that can, Cedric's been up front in some races, don't get me wrong, but could we see that more frequently? I think he
ran toward the front last night too in Nashville.
He did.
He was in the mix for quite a while, until kind of the long green flag runs for that car didn't seem to reward him.
No.
But he was really good on the short run.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Speaking of teams and getting support, before we start going like way down the rabbit hole,
let's do it.
What'd you think of Legacy's performance in the last couple of weeks, especially this past week in Nashville? I was really high on John Hunter in Charlotte, and he ended up battling at the front. Again, a long race where teams got better around John Hunter, it seemed like, and they didn't seem to be able to make the adjustments they needed to be competitive late in the race, but he was in the mix the whole time. And then you see Eric Jones, who, is a wheelman in his own right, just hasn't been able to get what he needs out of that 43 car. Incident with Bell, just up there with his elbows out.
Yeah.
But running up in the top 5 there for a long way, and then finishing, I think, P7 overall. Or P6 overall. It was a great, or that was Bubba, P7, I think. But a great night for that team as well. So I don't know. Is it a thing where it's like, okay, the drivers are changing and improving, or is it that the teams are adapting to the drivers and getting the support that they need to put them in equipment that's going to get them those results?
Right.
That's the question I ask a lot.
Yeah. I think, and looking at the results here, so Eric finished in 7th. Where did Nemechek finish back 27th? Yeah. So I think this is a situation, not to minimize the car. I think he's outperforming the car a little bit. I think he's outperforming the car. And it was great to see. It was a pain. He was a pain in my ass because Byron couldn't get around him. But I think that it was good to see, because I want to see that team do well. And Eric and John Hunter are both talented, but seeing him able to sustain his position is huge, is absolutely huge. I think that they have potential. We've seen him win at Darlington, right? Eric Jones has won at Darlington, hasn't he?
He's won at Darlington. He's won a couple other. He won a lot. He won when he was not a lot, but he won when he was in the Joe Gibbs cars too. In the 20 as well. But I forget where he's won.
I want to say Darlington. It might be. I might be wrong, but it might be twice. Has he pulled off the? Hold on, now I got to fact check this. Eric Jones Darlington stats. Now here we go. We're pulling this up. Is it 1 or 2 wins?
Eric Jones has won Truck Series Championship in 2015, multiple wins in the Cup Series, Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona Speedway in 2018, the Bojangles Southern 500 at Darlington in 2019, the 2022 Southern 500 in Darlington, and the Busch Clash Daytona International Speedway in
February of 2020.
Yeah, so he's won one of the most difficult races on the schedule twice, and like dude can drive.
Likes Daytona and Darlington apparently.
Yeah,
those are the two he seems to have the most success at.
Yeah, they can get it done. I mean, he can get it done. I think that car, it's just not where it really needs to be, and I think it's more the driver than the car. It's cool to see, though. I'm excited for them because that's a finish that they desperately need.
They're chipping away.
Desperately need, and they've been slowly making up that gap. Same thing with RFK. I mean, we're kind of seeing that same transition from running in the back to kind of figuring it out now, kind of trying to pull some consistent finishes together. So, no, it was good to see that 43 car up there battling and trying to get a win.
That's been my kind of piece too about Ryan Preece over the last year, this past season, where it's like, this guy might as well have been riding in a horse and buggy before they put him in this 60 car because he's there now. Whatever they did, he's able to use it to the best of its ability because he's been much, much more competitive than what I've seen him do in the last couple of years. So I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a driver thing, but I think there's a lot of equipment changes that happen where okay, we're going to get it right for the driver and we're going to go. Like that was something they talked about Josh Berry last night. They were talking to him over the headset like, hey, this car is not in a position where you're going to run at the front right now. It's not driving the way it needs to. So, bide your time. We'll get you in here. We'll fix you up. And that's just during the race,
right.
Zoom out to a full scope of, the full year. Like they're still working on that car week over week over week. So it's interesting for all these different teams and some of these smaller teams or these smaller drivers who are kind of competing now in the mix with who I would consider like weekly contenders with the Byrons and the Hamlins and the and the like every single week. But the Larsons, I don't want to leave them out. The Hendrick fanboys. There's Hendrick fanboys and then there's Larson fanboys.
Oh, Larson. Oh boy. Oh, Larson fanboys. Some of them. Oh man. They need a reality check on how much investment they spend on their energy with Larson and their emotions. It is rough. At Atlanta, there is this guy at the truck race who was a Larson fan chirping at Kyle Busch the whole race because he's like, all you can do is run with the kids in the truck series and embarrass them. Come on. And whole race.
Isn't that what Kyle does in the Xfinity series? Crazy, dude. Don't use logic.
Don't think about
thoughts.
It's so wild. I think I lost brain cells listening to this guy.
I had a video that I made about Chris Wright.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
It has like 1 million. It has almost like 1 million views on Instagram. I hate it. It's the worst.
How dare you talk about Kyle Larson like that, Sal?
Every comment.
How dare you?
Every single comment is how dare you talk about the greatest driver in the history of motor.
Oh my goodness.
Brothers and sisters, we're not talking about Chris. We're not talking about Kyle Larson. We're talking about Chris Wright. You guys are not watching or paying attention. There's a lot of Timmies and Jimmies out there with access to keyboards that are just flapping their gums because they love Kyle Larson so much. It's like
it's so funny. It's so I need to go.
Exhausting.
It is. I need to go scroll through that video because when you posted it, I mean, okay. Well, no,
comments are toxic.
I can't.
Good luck.
I can't logic. I can't use my I can't apply logic to this because you can tell it's an Xfinity car. It's not a Cup Series car.
If you know what you're looking at, what's in front of you.
Well, I mean, that just shows you the intelligence of Kyle Larson fans.
You said it, not me.
I said it, not you. I'm kidding. I know Larson fans. They're there's good and bad in all. There's good and bad in all, and
there's a lot of bandwagoners. That's the big thing with him is he has a lot of dedicated fans, and then he's picking up all the extras along the way too that are just like, yeah, I like that guy because he wins a lot. And meanwhile, they know that's all they know. They know nothing else, which makes it that much more difficult.
It is
to reason with these people, but you can't.
I mean, yeah, just got to use your eyes sometimes, buddy. Yeah, just use your eyes. So,
any big F1 things that you have cooking? I know that you follow you report on F1 for ATYL. I know I'm not as invested in F1 as most people. I casually follow, so like I know things happen, and that's about it. But like, is there any F1 things that you have on the table for after this weekend, or things that are exciting for you in the F1 world right now?
So I got a juicy take on Lance Stroll. So there's a lot of speculation to why he may have broken his hand or injured his wrist.
Wasn't he punching somebody in the head or something?
So apparently, and this is all speculation,
I saw it on Twitter. Twitter theories.
Twitter and Reddit can both be very toxic places. But apparently there was reports that he was kind of going on a little bit of a rampage. I think that's the adjective or how they describe this, or a temper tantrum, or however you want to say this, and being very rude to team members and using specific language and kind of going about and, kind of going off a little bit. There are rumors that he punched a wall. There are rumors that he broke things. Who knows what actually happened, but there is speculation.
Somebody knows.
Somebody, I bet Lawrence knows. I bet Mr. Lawrence knows. But yes, he missed because that is what the speculation is. The report that I saw from F1 was very, very, very vague. Just that he injured his hand. That's interesting. Also,
you mean the governing body that doesn't want people cussing over the radio isn't going to tell you if somebody punched a wall? That's
precisely, exactly. I think the other thing is the whole the Max fiasco that's been going down on social media, dude. From Jesse, one of the guys I went to the race with yesterday, people have apparently on social been eating Max alive for his actions at the end of the Spanish GP.
Yeah, that's where I saw all the action. All of my F1 information this week was brought to me courtesy of Max running whoever that was. I don't even know who he ran off the track, but it was like makes deliberate contact. It was George Russell?
George Russell, yes.
And let me tell you, the evidence is looking pretty damning right now. I don't know.
Rough.
The internet has ruled him guilty.
It was rough. So here, the first part about this is, and I got to take my Ferrari hat off and put my F1 hat on. So him and Leclerc made contact coming to the green or coming to the line with like 5 to go after they got the green flag. Max had an incredible save out of the last corner. Charles could not pass him before the start finish line. Timed it up very well. They made contact. Max was whining about that. Max doing what Max does sometimes. Rosberg came over the broadcast and was like, "Max, that's ridiculous. Stop it. No, just stop it. You are in the wrong. Just stop it." Then George does make contact with Max in turn 1. That is apparent. What I don't understand was why Red Bull was like, "You need to give George the spot back," which didn't make sense. And then Max went to give the spot back, and then did what you saw. He said I think that he said he locked up or something like that. I might be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but something like that. But it looked like he deliberately missed the corner and knocked
Just
George out of the way. Oh yeah.
And
it was a NASCAR move. In NASCAR, that would have been applauded. You'd have seen people stand to their feet and cheer. In Formula One,
was a Kenseth Logano-esque
it was
level deal. It looked like
it was. I yelled. I was like, no. I was like, I had a friend who was watching F1 for some of the first times, and I was like, dude, you probably just watched the most exciting race of the season.
Yeah.
In these last 5 laps. I'm curious to see what this is going to do because he got 3 penalty points. Max got a 10-second penalty and 3 penalty points. You know what that means, Sal?
I don't know what penalty points are. I know the 10-second penalty is going to affect his finishing position, but I do not know what the penalty points are about.
You can only incur a certain amount of penalty points for a certain duration of time. He is 1 penalty point away from a 1 race ban.
Wow. So it's like red cards and yellow cards in soccer. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The vibe. If you get a certain number of things against you, they kick you.
Yep. So I believe it is.
If he missed a race, imagine.
Oh, man. Oh, McLaren would drive away with this thing. They already are.
They're already doing a good job of that from what I can keep up with. It seems like.
So, yeah. I mean, between Lance punching walls, between Max driving people off the track, in F1 land, it is a WWE brawl right now. So, it's pretty spicy. Pretty spicy.
They gotta match the entertainment product of NASCAR on Prime.
Well, Max is doing it in and of itself. I mean, dude's freaking knocking people out of the way. Yeah,
he wants to win. He doesn't like getting beat, it seems.
No, I will have to say though, a lot of people think he can't pass, like he cannot make calculated passes. In that race, he was doing it. He can pass. I don't care what people say. Like you don't. There's a, and I say this to a lot of people because they're like, "Oh yeah, it's just the car." Well, no. He's been overperforming what that car is able to do. And just because you get an exceptional car doesn't mean that you're going to match that with.
Oh, you have to drive it exceptionally.
Exactly.
Somebody's still got to get behind the wheel.
You got to execute it. You got to execute it. I mean, look at what's happening with Yuki Tsunoda right now. It sucks. I hate it. Don't get me wrong, but like, you got to give credit to where credit's due. But Max, naughty. That's what I said at the end of my video. I was like, naughty, Max. Naughty.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad. Oh man. I'm looking at my clock. Are there any? I asked Buddy this when I talked with him last time. Are there any? So what is it? We ask 1, 2. I have two keystone closers that I ask. So
okay, cool.
Are there any really hot takes that you have, more pertaining to the Cup side or the Xfinity or the truck side of the world, that you can sizzle up, that you've had like kind of you're stewing on, that you're like, Buddy told me he hates next gen racing. That was his kind of piece on it, which wasn't exactly the hottest take. His hot take was that SVG should be considered one of the best drivers in the world, along with Max and Kyle Larson, which is a hot take.
Okay,
but those are some examples if you want to marinate on that for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
The other question is, what was your first car and what do you drive now? I stole that one from Harvick's Happy Hour.
I love that one. Oh man, I'm gonna have to think about this hot take one because that's there's a lot. There's a lot of places I can go with this. How much do I want to stir? I'll answer the.
You know me. You know me. I'm a stir.
Tinfoil hats going on.
Cuts the blood circulation off to my brain some days.
Exactly. So, okay. So first, I'll answer the second one while I think about this. The first question. So first car was a 2004 Chevy Trailblazer. Blue. Got it from my dad. Drove that thing literally to the ground. And I love that car. I see him all around. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my car. Very reliable. We did have to replace the tranny in it back in like 2011, 2012. Don't remember why. But fantastic car nonetheless. That was my first car. And I currently drive a 2016 Chevy Camaro.
So he's a Chevy guy, and he's a Camaro guy.
Chevy.
Oh, the Hendrick branding works on you big time.
It does.
I love that.
It does. Yes, and it's a stick. It's a manual. So leaving the track last night was the worst.
How much fun?
I mean, the thing is like you have these people who don't know how to use their brains either in their brakes at the same time, and so you have these people slamming on their brakes, and I'm over here. Literally looks like I'm at a road course. I'm at like Sonoma or the Chicago street circuit, just trying to make this car stop. But yeah, no, I drive a 2016 Chevy Camaro. Yeah.
See, it's interesting to hear what the crossover is between automotive enthusiast and motorsport enthusiast, because Buddy drives a Volkswagen Jetta that
awesome.
He could care less. Like it gets me to work, and it's always interesting to hear the crossover because that's my original background is in that automotive space where like, okay, I have a Miata that's a 5-speed, and then I have a Honda that's a 6-speed, and it's like the next car will be a 6-speed, Lord willing, if they don't discontinue manual transmissions, and it's like. The Toyota Camry branding works on Sal,
Yeah.
Those XSEs look real good driving down the highway. So it's like, it's interesting to hear people's responses to those kinds of questions where it's like, is there crossover there, or is like for you, it's like, damn, all right, William Byron Jr., calm down.
I gotta keep it with the brand. I gotta keep it on track. I love can't break it. But I gotta say though, and this kind of goes with like. And this is not even a hot take. It might even kind of slide into the hot take category, but it's not. I'm
lukewarm take.
Lukewarm take. I will joke around about other cars being inferior to Camaros, but I'm not going to go over here and absolutely judge you because you drive a Mustang. If I would love to have a Mustang, I would love to drive a Ford GT. I would love to have all this stuff, you know? So I'm not going to get over here and make fun of you unless you drive a Toyota Camry.
Wow. Shots fired, Camry owners.
I'm kidding. Sal,
I'm a Honda boy, so all the shots would get fired at me.
Yeah. Yes. Hondas are my least favorite car there. How about that?
I've been waiting for this Honda manufacturer announcement in NASCAR for like a decade. Like I need it.
It's you never know. You never know. But no, Hondas are great cars.
I swore I'd never own one. And then I bought one and I drove it 165,000 miles and have only had to do oil changes on it. So
jeez. Well,
knock on wood. They won me over.
Yeah. They're reliable cars. I mean, they are very reliable cars. And that's the thing is like, okay.
Gets the job done.
My father-in-law, he views cars as I'm going to go from point A to point B. I don't care what it is. Some people don't view it like that, you know? And so neither is right or wrong. But okay.
Life's too short to drive something boring, you know.
Yeah,
That's my
take.
I
agree with. I agree with.
That's affordable and boring.
Exactly. Try to figure out what the spectrum of those are. Okay, I'll say this. Is my hot take.
Okay.
Carson Hocevar will win a championship in the next 4 years.
Woo! Championship. Not just a race, but you think this is a young man who could be a champion in the next 4 years, ahead of all these other guys. You think that is the caliber of driver we have in the 77 Spire Chevrolet?
I am very hot on Carson Hocevar right now. Not only what he's doing from a branding perspective and a personality perspective. I don't know if you've seen his clips on Twitch.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's amazing. He's building up a fan base. Now, the only thing that could stop him are the likes of like a Jesse Love. Obviously, the big name guys that are in the sport already. But some of those younger guys that are getting in here now that when they get in the Cup, they may have better equipment than Spire. But it's
a big rookie class right now.
Yeah,
and it'll be a big rookie class next year when Heim goes. We assume Heim will go to the Xfinity Series along with everyone else.
Exactly. So you got to remember this: Carson Hocevar is 22 years old.
Mm-hmm. Young man.
He is out. I don't think he's outperforming that car. I think those cars are. I mean, how many weeks has he been at the top of the boards in practice or in qual? I mean, like he's been up there quite a bit.
A lot this year.
So I think it's just a matter of time before we start to see this man start to pull off a win. Arguably, if the caution didn't fly in Atlanta, he could.
He would have been. It would have been real tight there at the end.
It would have been tight.
It would have been tight.
I think he can, if he can match his aggression with his skill, Carson Hocevar will win a championship by 2020. I guess it'd be 2028. So
okay, you heard it here first. And I guess that kind of follows up with something else that I've heard. Maybe you have an opinion on is there's a rumor going around that he is going to funnel into the Hendrick driver system at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about there's always conversation around who the fourth car is at Hendrick, and even the worst car at Hendrick is performing the best car at other teams. But do you see a young man, Carson Hocevar, being a champion in a Spire backed vehicle or a Hendrick Motorsports backed vehicle?
I think from a consistency perspective, Hendrick makes the most sense.
Sure.
But I also think that oh man, that's tough. Because here's the thing. If he goes to Hendrick next year or in 2 years, can he have enough time to learn and to get, to it
versus where he is now, where he's already outperforming what he's got?
Yeah, like that's the thing is like, what's the curve between him outperforming what he's got, Inspire getting better versus him learning a whole new system in a better car and trying to match that? I think he'll be in Hendrick. I really believe that I guess this is going to parlay onto that hot take. I think that Carson Hocevar will be in Hendrick in the next 2 years.
Okay. So if you believe Carson Hocevar will be in Hendrick in the next 2 years, who do you think will not be at Hendrick in the next 2 years?
I mean,
because I have an answer for myself, but I don't think it's the same answer everyone else has.
It can't be Willie B.
Nope.
Willie B just signed a contract.
4-year deal.
So that just completely negates him going to the 24 car, thank goodness.
Surely.
I'm curious. Can I take a guess at who I think you think it is?
Sure.
Elliott.
That is who I think it is.
Really? Okay, because that's not who I think it is. Why do you think Elliott? I think it's the 48. I think it's Bowman. But
so Chase Elliott, there's a certain standard of winning at Hendrick that has to happen. And there's a certain marketability that you have to have. And Hendrick has always been in this culture of we lead by our example on track. We're not going to be personality driven organization. And that the times are changing, and Chase Elliott is less engaged with the sport now than he's ever been. And as his fans are the ones who don't know how to log into Amazon Prime, I think the support will dwindle. It's
boy.
like the most popular driver conversation, right?
Yeah.
How does this guy win the most popular driver every year? Like, but I do think the 48, if he's performing to the same level of the 48 right now, in my opinion, the 9 and the 48 are almost the same. If we're having conversations like in the media where you're questioning the fourth car between that team between those two guys, I think he's just as easily on the block to be replaced as people make it seem like Bowman is. That's my opinion, which is, who knows what'll happen, if it'll happen, but
well, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the numbers really quick. So, that's 2024. Well, it's hard to compare 2024 to this season. But just last year alone, Byron, by pure points, Byron scored the most, with Kyle Larson in second, Chase Elliott in third, Alex Bowman in fourth. And last season, Carson Hocevar was nowhere near that, of course, obviously. Actually, he was 21st. So this year, I don't have the 2025 stats pulled up, but I'd be curious to see. So looking at this, Byron overtook Kyle Larson this past week in Nashville with in the overall point standings. And you have Chase Elliott in P5, and then in 12th you have Alex Bowman in total points. So like there's a trend here, I think, over the last 2 years. I mean, starts like looking at just this year alone, Bowman has 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s. Elliott has 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s. But let's go to Carson Hocevar, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. So like
it's creeping up. He's creeping up to be at that caliber.
It's happening. I mean, he is ahead of Ricky Stenhouse. He's ahead of McDowell.
He's definitely ahead of Ricky Stenhouse at Nashville.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and so like Hocevar is only 2 points behind Priest, only 4 points behind a champion Kyle Busch, 10 points behind Buescher. I mean, these aren't just
I don't even think about it in the terms of like last year, this year. I think about it in terms of this is his trajectory now. In 3 years from now, if he can continue to grow the way he's growing, what is that? Where does that make sense to have him race? Where is he going to be running?
There, or how about this? This is the big one. The 99 car.
Trackhouse. I don't think anybody but Zilich goes to that car.
Oh, I agree. I fully agree.
It would be a hot move to see Hocevar jump over to that team.
Oh, that Ross and Carson together. Oh, boy.
They do have that connection. There's that Nice truck.
They do
connection that they have. I just that'd be cool. But if you give up Zilich,
oh no, you see that, and that's the thing. There are like almost 10 drivers you could say that could be Cup drivers. That could be good Cup drivers. You have Jesse Love. You have Corey Heim. You have Zilich. You have Corey Day coming up in the Hendrick system. And that's the big question.
Where's he going to end up?
Is Corey...
You have more drivers than you have cars.
Yeah.
It's becoming a problem. And Hendrick's a team that is grandfathered in with 4 charters. New teams that will come into the sport now under this new charter agreement cannot have 4 charters. They can only have 3.
Yep.
And there's more drivers than there are. Again, there's more drivers than there are cars.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that leads into a whole nother conversation too, in terms of who's going to get the support. Is the support going to be more based on overall talent, or will the support be more based on overall pocket? And that's another conversation you can go down a deep rabbit hole on. But,
yeah. I think Carson can provide both. I genuinely believe he can provide both. Because he's a great personality.
So where do you think he goes if he goes to Hendrick? What car does he sit in?
There's no way that I think Hendrick gives up the 9 with Elliott. I don't
think so.
I mean, that would be probably like genuinely, that's like a LeBron James move going somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
That is a huge move, Bowman leaving Hendrick. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel as
less
heavy.
surprising.
Yeah. It's not going to be Larson, and it's obviously not going to be Byron now that he signed that 4-year deal. So I think it's the 48. I think Carson Hocevar could be in the 48 looking at the 2027 season.
Part of me thinks that Larson will not run as deep into his career as a Cup driver as people think he will. I'm not saying I think that car's ever going to be like opened up. I think it's going to be up to him. But personally, I think Kyle Larson has done all of the things that he can do at the NASCAR Cup Series level.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, yeah, some crown jewels and things, but that doesn't mean as much as it used to.
No.
But like my gut tells me that Larson will probably retire a little younger than people expect him to, and he'll go dominate the dirt racing scene and go do other disciplines to like really kind of push himself in different areas. But
for sure,
that's, who knows what that'll be like. But
yeah,
he's got young kids at home. That's the other thing too. Once you have young kids at home, it's like, you want to be home for them, and you want to, like, you see what Kevin Harvick's doing with his son, and it's like, okay, you want to be involved in your kids' lives and bring them up in the sport and do these different things. It's like there's a finite timeline on some of those.
It is, and that dives deep into like personal. What do you want to spend your time doing? And that's the big question around Max. Like Max Verstappen tying us back to Formula One. Like, just had this kid. Like, how long is he going to last? I mean, he's won 4. Okay,
he's done it all.
He could win 7. He does now have his super license, which means he can run.
I saw that
in WEC
anywhere.
He can run in IMSA. All I'm hearing is that if Kyle Larson were to leave NASCAR, Max Verstappen to leave Formula One, they meet together and they will form the best supercar, hypercar, GT3 team we will ever see in our lifetime. That car would be that would be a cheat code. That would be a literal cheat code that you put in on NASCAR 2004 or 2003, where it's like 30 different keys, and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot which one. I'm on like 12. That would be amazing to see, because they both have expressed interest to running endurance races. And so, I mean, imagine the 24-hour Le Mans
would be with that, both of them
with Lawson.
You know what the viewership would be?
Larson and it would be outrageous. Yeah, outrageous. So I would make a trip to go see them race. That's
crazy. All the way to France?
100%, dude.
Damn, get that passport renewed.
Yeah. Damn it. But
no, that'd be cool. All right, we are in the thick of it. We could probably sit here for another hour, but I'm gonna rein us in here. Any final thoughts you have for the audience out here on the old Slide Jobs interview format this morning? Hopefully this was a good time for you. We keep it light, we keep it crispy, we kind of go off the rails, but anything you'd like to wrap up with for yourself?
This is fun. It's fun. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing here with all the interviews, and fun chatting it up on a Monday morning, and while everything's still fresh into mind, it's still fresh.
That's why I figured we do it now.
Yeah, it's great. Today. And so appreciate you having me on and asking me about Indy and comparing the both NASCAR and Indy together and all the fun topics. And like I said, Carson Hocevar, he'll be a champion in 4 years. So I'm going to stay, in 4 years.
Stay behind that.
In 4 years, everybody can laugh in my face, and I'll do something stupid for it.
You have to shave your head if he's not a champion.
See, I'm not going. No. That is not a part of this agreement, sir.
No, you don't have a beard. Otherwise, I'd say you got to shave your beard in 4 years.
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll ruminate on this.
We'll come up with some type of punishment.
Yes, like an Impractical Jokers style level of punishment there.
We'll have to get you like we'll get a John like swimsuit calendar made if he's not something really embarrassing.
Okay, the Motorsports Enthusiast. Okay. How PG are we gonna keep this now?
That's really up to you.
We've talked about different things with hot tubs and whatnot.
The hot tub podcast. Listen, I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great.
Put it on the roof of a camper in the infield somewhere.
Oh,
it'd be a great time.
That'd be great.
You'd get in some trouble doing that. But that'd be great.
Hey, it'd be fun.
But, all right, we'll figure out what John's punishment is when Hocevar, if and when Hocevar does or doesn't win a championship. But thank you for carving out some time. We've been at this for a hot minute, and I appreciate it. So continue to stay tuned to everything John is doing. John, what are your social handles? Let the people know.
Anywhere, just look up the Motorsports Enthusiast, and you'll find me. You'll see a bright yellow background and my face on it. So that's everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Not really on Twitter X very much. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool. Well, and you can stay tuned with everything right here. Splash and Dash Morning Show on ATYL Media, as well as Slide Job Sal, TikTok, Instagram. You can find me on Twitter and X as well, casually. And next week is Michigan. Any thoughts on Michigan real quick? The Italian goodbye, the 45-minute goodbye we're doing. Any thoughts on Michigan?
Gosh, I think could be RFK. I think could be a good day for RFK. And
manufacturer-wise, who do you think's got this in the bag? Do you think there's one manufacturer that is gonna push a little harder this weekend?
I think they could carry the momentum. I think that Hocevar might try to do one better.
This is a home return for him to Michigan as well.
I think watch out for him to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more assertive with his move. So for either Ford with RFK or Hocevar, that's where my mind goes right now. What do you think? What do you think?
I think the Fords are going to come out of this one really, really strong because there's such a tie. There's such a tie that Ford has to Michigan and Detroit, and I think this is for Ford as the manufacturer. This is their biggest race.
Absolutely.
From the manufacturer side. So I would, whether it's RFK or it's Penske or even the Wood brothers, I wouldn't discount any of those dark horse Mustangs this weekend. But Michigan usually gives us some pretty good racing.
It does.
Hopefully track conditions stay nice and we don't end up talking about dirty air versus, actual action on the track more so than anything else.
Right.
But should be a good weekend.
Should be good. Awesome.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
I'm muted. I appreciate everybody who sticks around. Hopefully that was an interview, kind of a conversation with John, the motorsports enthusiast. We really kind of went deep on a lot of things in that. So I'm sure there's lots of thoughts on our hot takes, but I saw people commenting as the interview was going on. Zilich is still signed with Trackhouse, but is he signed at a cup level? That's kind of where we were kind of alluding to there. And then Carson Hocevar, if he does step into the Hendrick pipeline, people think it's going to be in the 48 and that Larson will stick around at Hendrick as long as they can keep him, which I agree. I think it's just a matter of, how long will Larson choose to stay? He's got his own things I'm sure that he wants to do too. Kyle Larson, Max Verstappen, and Weck, can you say ka-chow? This is what dreams are made of. It would be awesome if that happens. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. There's so many opportunities out there for those guys to do whatever they want. So it's really something that is up to them ultimately, and be interesting to see what they choose to do in their respective careers as they move forward. We are well past time today. So I really appreciate everybody for sticking in. I did, while that interview was rolling, you can now go back and listen to the shows as audio format on Spotify. Splash and Dash. What is the name of this? Hold on. I'm going to read you exactly the name because I just changed it. Splash and Dash with Slide Job Sal on Spotify is the name of the where you can find the audio. I just uploaded the one I did after North Wilkesboro with Buddy. So if you are looking to kind of get a hold of that, listen back. If you are Buddy and you'd like to listen back, share with your friends. It's the whole show. So it'll be more than just the interviews, but I figured that's a good place to start to kind of put these into safekeeping in an audio format. So if you're interested, those are there as well now. You can listen throughout the day, on your way home from work, on your way to work. I understand not everybody can be here for the live portion at
8 a.m. starting and running through 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I appreciate everybody for stopping in. There's 107 of you across the ATYL media channels. Thank you so much for the support and your time. You choose to watch what we do here. So it is very greatly appreciated that you make that choice to be with us. Of all the homies on TikTok, appreciate it. ZGR, Angel Man, Chris Golden. I'm going to be reaching out to Chris Golden. He's an ARCA team guy, driver. Really interested in having more conversations. I know we've talked to Buddy and we've talked to John. I'd love to talk to people who are more embedded in the industry in terms of, okay, I'm in the car driving every week. That's something that I'm super interested in doing and moving forward with as part of this. We're learning this year in a big way what this show can be. And I appreciate Taylor for giving me that flexibility and for the ATYL team for being so cooperative with things that I'm asking from them. So, I love talking to people and having the long form discussion. So if it's something that everyone from an audience perspective is interested in, it's definitely something I want to continue moving forward. I will say my goal is to have Matt Tift on here. I would love to chat with him. He just bought Mansfield Speedway. He's going to convert it back into a dirt track. So maybe there's an opportunity to chat with him or some other like higher profile folks from the industry, not just about their time in the Cup Series or in the, in NASCAR, but what they're doing, like what they're doing for the industry outside of that. So really curious to dive into that and get more involved. I appreciate everyone for being part of that involvement and being with us. 3 hours today, probably too much, but thanks for sticking it out. And we will see you next week after Michigan. You can find those races, Prime, CW, and FS1 for the trucks. I don't even know if there's trucks on this weekend, to be really honest with you. I'm not going to lie. But stay tuned, and we'll be back next Tuesday morning right here. ATYL, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and TikTok at Slide Job Sal. Again, you can find these on Spotify. Splash and Dash with Slide Job Sal is the name of the show. You can find it. I'll put a link on my social to it. This way people can listen throughout the week. But appreciate everybody. Catch you next time.